Gameplay update 7.25. General changes. All pick hero picking is being reworked, and now is 5 rounds. Each round, Radiant and Dire pick one hero each at the same time, and the selections each team makes is hidden until the next round. Okay, so if a duplicate pick occurs, the player who picked it second will be given some extra time to select another hero. Okay, I like that. So basically, rather than like always like picking, like whoever picks first is mostly fucked, right? Because everybody else gets to pick after him. But now it's going to be 2 people blind picking at the same time. One guy puts in Lich, the other puts in Jakiro. And after the timer runs out, they pop up at the exact same time, Lich and Jakiro for each team. So this means that you can't last 10th pick, last pick anymore, really. So you can't, if you happen to be on the team where you're like, I get the ultimate last pick in the game, you can't just let your mid do it and pick some like Huskar or Meepo. That's the perfect pick. You basically have to like semi-blind pick, at least a little bit. This could mean that people are going to pick a little bit more conservatively. It's gonna might feel a little bit like literally playing rock paper scissors, where like one team's like, well, I'm gonna pick Huskar and I hope the matchup's good, and the other team's gonna be like, well, I'm gonna pick Meepo, I hope the matchup's good because it's a good Meepo game against the other 4. You know, it's gonna be a little bit RNG, but it should be better for super high MMRs in some ways because they don't have to worry about players abusing that quite as much. It's still gonna be a bit of an issue, I'm sure, but initially this sounds like a good thing, especially for lower level pubs. I think it's much better because there's just a little bit less counter picking going on, just a little bit less. Reworked how hero banning works. Previously, half of voted heroes would get banned. Now each ban has a 50% chance of succeeding. If there are less than 10 heroes banned, heroes will automatically roll for banning based on their ban rate at your MMR bracket. Oh, interesting. So basically, if you're AFK at the start of the draft where you missed to click ban somebody gets banned automatically for you, is my impression of how this works. Now each ban has a 50% chance of succeeding, which is effectively how it worked before. You would basically, even if only like 5 heroes got picked to ban, half of them would still get banned. But now, so basically the most banned heroes are going to be rolled in there. I would assume that some of those numbers are wrong. Like there's probably like Tinker has a really high ban rate, I think, even though he's not really ever played that often. It's like super rarely played at high levels. But if some heroes like busted, it'll just automatically put in the ban, which is probably good. I don't like playing against busted heroes all the time myself, and I don't always pay attention to banning, and I usually just stick to like one hero. Like I get some like hero in my head when I play pubs and I'm like, oh, I think they're really busted right now, and I'll ban that hero every fucking time. I don't change it up based on like how the meta shifts. I'll just like ban Slardar I've been banning Slardar for like a month now at least, if I remember to ban, for example. But he's maybe not even the best hero right now. So I think this would be interesting. Ultimately probably good. The auto ban thing might be bad because it could mean that you just literally never play against the top heroes in the bracket. But considering that me personally, I don't like playing those heroes, this is only gonna be a positive thing for me. I don't know if it's overall positive for the game. Who knows? Does mean that like Ricky and shit like that's gonna be banned consistently at low MMRs, right? Because they probably do anyways. Anyways, power runes initially spawn at 4 minutes now. With spawning every 2 minutes. Power runes no longer spawn on both sides of the map at 40 minutes. So this is a really big deal because it's not an always thing, but a sometimes thing, basically. If you're playing in the mid lane and you are trying to outlast hit somebody, and it's like important if you have 6 more damage in them, and then a DD rune spawns at the 2 minute mark, fucking good luck. Or if a regen rune spawns at the 2 minute mark, it provides so much momentum, it's kind of insane. So I believe this is something that was cited by, I think, Sumail when neutral items came up and people were complaining about the RNG of neutral items. So like the game, like runes are more random at 2 minutes than neutral items were, because you could get a DD or a regen or something like that at the 2 minute mark and like dumpster your mid lane. Even an illusion rune was pretty good. So this is going to take some RNG out of mid. It's going to make bottle worse, obviously. We'll see if that gets adjusted later, because now you can't bottle a rune at 2 minutes. You'd have to wait till 4 minutes and then 5 minutes for bounties, but who knows? Maybe we'll see a buff for change the bottle. Remove the team based rubber band mechanics for hero kills. Okay, formally reworked and simplified below. Yeah, we'll see if this makes any sense. Here's the old one. So it depended on the victim's net worth rank within their team, basically like 1 to 5. Like I'm the most farmed hero versus I'm the least farmed hero on my team. That's the the ranking factor would be for the killer's net worth rank, same thing, richest 1 down to 5th, poorest. So I think 0.4 would be like, is based on if you're the most farmed hero, but you get a lot more if you're the least farmed. And if you kill a rich guy, you get more gold, 1.2, versus if they're a poor person, 0.6. Comeback factor is 1 if the team is behind, 0 if ahead. This just means that if you're ahead, then the whole equation gets multiplied by 0. The comeback factor is here, multiplying comeback factor by victim net worth. Basically, this part of the equation just becomes 0 if you're ahead. Okay, so that's the old one. Oh, here's the new one. I was like, where is it? Where is this new one? It's this one line right here. All right, 50 plus victim net worth times 0.03 divided by number of heroes. So that means when you kill somebody, you get minimum 50 gold. You add their net worth times 0.03 divided by the number of heroes. So basically, in the past, these numbers would basically scale. As you can see, here's the 5th hero, and then you see these numbers like this: 18 plus 0.9 times victim level plus this other shit divided by 5. This was divided by 5 with 5 heroes, 4 with 4 heroes, 3 with 3 heroes, 2 with 2 heroes. But the other important number is these static ones. This number here, the static gold number, plus the multiplier. Basically, all this shit it's still divided by the number of heroes as it was before, but the top part of the equation is basically like how much net worth do they have. And that's the AoE gold, by the way. So that's like when somebody dies and you're nearby, you just get this. I don't know if this is more or less gold. You'd have to put this in a spreadsheet and compare using some examples. And that takes like an hour or more. So check Reddit later. Somebody will do it. Do I know what this means? I don't know. I can't make a good guess. I don't know. For somebody writing in chat, for a 15,000 net worth hero, you'll get 50 plus 15,000 times 3%, which is about 450 gold. That's a shitload. Could mean that there's a lot of... I mean, I'd have to like set up a big a spreadsheet. I did this once a long time ago when I wrote an article for the Score Esports. But it was like when you could like buy back with Storm and like win the team fight after buying back and get equal and more gold back. It was a bad time for buybacks. Anyways, we'll have to see how this feels in game. You're going to feel it's going to change a lot of win rates because heroes that are maybe better at team fighting are going to have win rate increases, because if they're good at team fighting, then when team fights they'll get more gold than before is a possibility. But we won't be able to see these unless we do math heavily or figure this shit out by feel is usually where you get it, or check win rate differences. Hero kill sprees gold bounty increased from 60 to 480 to 200 to 690. So kill sprees will give more when you die and also more at the base level. And experience bounty has also gone up by a little bit. So basically, if you're on a spree, you will give away more gold and experience when you do actually die. Captain's mode now has band counts per phase changed from 321 to 411. So same amount of bands, but a lot more bands at the start, which is interesting. This is kind of similar to what banning was originally in Dota 1. In Dota 1, bans used to be both teams would ban 5 heroes and then you would draft. But then they changed it to banning some heroes at the start, then a little bit less as the game goes on to like adjust things. So what this is going to do is help prevent as many of the top heroes in the meta from just being in the game. It's also going to allow more like targeted ban stuff. Like you could potentially ban the shit out of like some offlane players' heroes. And I don't know enough about drafting to know whether this is necessarily better or not. But importantly, it's going to change things up a little bit. So it could make drafting and strategies a little bit more interesting, which I think is probably good for the health of the scene from a pro player perspective. I'm guessing. Do not know. Random draft hero pool reduced from 50 to 40. Okay. I like that as well, because the 50 is kind of a lot of heroes. It's kind of like all the heroes are, not all, but like, 5/12 of all the heroes are still in the pool. 40 is like a very small number. That's a third of all heroes, just about. So I think there's like 115 something like that heroes. I can't remember exactly. Random Radiant Ancient Creeps are now easier to stack. Okay. That's the bottom half of the map, basically. Thanks for the subs, guys. Tier 1 neutral item drop rates increased from 10 to 14%. I like this initially because I feel like neutral items, like tier 1s, if you have a team, if you're like doing really well, you don't leave your lanes, basically. And I do have game circumstances sometimes where I just don't have tier 1 items until the tier 2 ones hit, and it's kind of weird. So I feel like having a higher % chance to drop them is completely fine. Because it's not like you can stack them, you know? It's like you can only use one. So get them into the game a little bit faster. If you have a lineup that isn't very good at jungling, basically. That's why I think it's okay. Fountain attack damage increased by 25. Neutral creep frost armor slow reduced. And the armor bonus is nerfed a tiny bit. The neutral creep, the frost ogre is pretty decent at times. I think it's fine. It got a slight nerf here. Illusion Rune now has a similar cast mechanics as Manta. Shuffle, Dispel, Dodge. Oh, very cool. That's a cool buff, actually. That actually makes a bottle way better if you find an Illusion Rune. It's like night and day. That's incredibly good. Because that means in one fight, you can Dispel a Silence. You can also just dodge a spell. Like, pro players are going to use this for sure. It's like you're going to see an Illusion Rune late game if you don't have a Radiance. You're going to be like, oh shit, that's really cool. Because now, next fight you go into, you can dodge a stun. Or you can get silenced and remove it. Like, that's a really cool. Big fan of this change. It's very small. It could be really good in the laning stage too in the right circumstances. Like, imagine you're playing against like a Skywrath Mage mid or something. And you get an Illusion Rune, you bottle it. And you're like, fucking try to kill me, dude. If you use the silence on you, boom, you split it. Or if you're against a Pugna and he decreps you, split it. You know, there's a lot of cool, interesting. It's a little bit game winny. Like it's a little like potentially game breaking if you get one against the right hero. I feel like, but it's still a fucking Illusion Rune, and most times Illusion Runes are not very useful. So I think it's a cool change. All right, Faded Brooch, mana reduced from 225 to 200. I almost always forget that this even gives max mana. It gives a lot of movement speed, so I think this is fine. Doesn't bother me. Iron Talon working on Ancients. I think that's a cool change. That's actually a really, really cool change, because there's a lot of heroes that can't Ancient very well. And if you can't, Iron Talon is like I think Iron Talon's pretty good right now. 15 attack speed, 2 armor is great, but I forget to use it a lot. But using it against Ancients is like crazy, because those things have like 1500 HP, so this would do like 750 physical damage effectively. More than that because they have armor. It's really good. Big fan of this. Poor Man's Shield armor or agility buff by 1. I think that's fine. Poor Man's is decent, but not always incredible. Philosopher's Stone gold income increase. I think they needed to do this, actually. I think Philosopher's Stone was kind of garbage. Like, it's good in the right circumstances on the right heroes, but a lot of heroes just, like, have no desire to use it. I feel. At least that's me. But maybe I haven't taken to the item enough. Grove Bow attack speed increased by 5. I think that's fine. A lot of these items getting buffed, actually. Almost all of these getting buffed. I wonder what their thought behind buffing these items are. Maybe is that they feel too inconsequential at times or something. Or maybe they feel like too specific and therefore you have to buff them. Therefore, they're going to feel more useful to use on other heroes. Like Grove Bow on a melee hero is going to feel a lot better now because it gives 15 attack speed instead of 10, for example. Nether Shawl buff, 5 magic resistance. I love this item. It's so good. 25% magic resistance. That's so good. It's a straight up hood now. Spider Legs turn rate increased up to plus 50%, so you can turn really fast with Spider Legs now, and the passive movement speed increased by another 4. Spider Legs is even better now. Repair Kit buffed by 3. These are what they're probably looking at. Is they probably looked at data for all of these items, and this one's a nerf obviously, but all of these other ones are just straight up buffs, right? So they probably found that these items are just not very used by people and that they needed buffs. Enchanted Quiver is another great example of that. Enchanted Quiver is sometimes really good. 8 seconds is kind of a lot. 6 is a lot better. I think Enchanted Quiver is sometimes really good, but I'll usually leave it behind. I like Havoc Hammer a lot in the right circumstances because it gives you an AoE nuke for a lot of melee heroes that might not have it, like Clockwork or Tree or etc. I think Havoc Hammer is quite good. But slowing attack speed is incredibly good now, actually. 50% attack speed slow for 3 seconds on a 10-second cooldown for no mana. Havoc Hammer is legit. Flicker on a 4-second cooldown now. The range reduces, so you don't flicker as far away. I think that's a good solution to it. I mean, it's all around just a straight buff, but if you go 600 units, like if you use it and you blink 600 units towards your opponents, that's really scary. But 450 is like more reasonable. They're less likely to just like be out of vision of you, but more likely to still be able to use it to dispel if needed. Leveler getting 10 attack speed. I think Leveler can be good sometimes. Minotaur Horn a little bit more spell duration. Willa Shaco buffed also by 200. I haven't actually had any tier 5 games in a while. I had a couple when it first came up, and I haven't for some reason. 10 mana regen for Seer Stone. I think that's good. This item kind of sucks, I feel like. In the right circumstances, the cast range is good, but it's kind of rare. Ballista, knockback pure damage increased from 30 to 40. So just a little bit more damage, basically. And Woodland Strider's health regen increased by 10. So these are basically all the weakest items. It's pretty safe to say. Or most situational items. Or maybe they have low win rates or something like that. I'm sure they looked at data to buff and nerf these because I feel like... Or they just ask pro players which ones they think are good, for example. But I think these are all pretty reasonable buffs. Town Portal Scroll increased by 40 gold. Ooh. Okay. So it's going to be more expensive to die repeatedly, I'm sad to say. This is a buff to Shovel, Trusty Shovel. Because now when you get a TP pack, you're really getting 180 gold instead of 10 or 100. Boots of Travel no longer has an active. What? Upgrades Town Portal Scroll while equipped. Reduces its cooldown to 40 seconds, allows it to target units, and does not consume a charge on usage. Okay. So, and then movement speed increased. God, this does different movement speed for melee or ranged. Is that what this means? This must be like a later patch, because or I'm not remembering a change. Bots 1 and 2. God, I didn't even know it gave more movement speed for level 2. Was it always like this? How long has it been like this? It's not new? It was before? Okay. I never build BOTs too myself, so like I can't remember the last time I've ever built level 2 Boots of Travel. Never happens. So anyways, the whole purpose is that you can't buy Boots of Travel, teleport to lane, or teleport to Fountain to get mana full, and then use Boots of Travel to teleport back to lane. So it was like it probably buffed. It was mainly, it kind of turns Boots of Travel into a mana regen item was the problem, which made it a little bit too good for heroes like Leshrac. Just like getting Boots of Travel really fast just made a lot of sense. And my dog is sleeping like an angel right now. We went on like an hour-and-a-half walk today. Anyways, so it still functions basically the same as old Boots of Travel. It's just you can't abuse teleport, double teleport anymore, which is going to slow the game down a little bit for sure. And it's going to increase Ember's win rate a little bit because he can still abuse it with Remnants. And he's probably not the only one that is going to be like that. So there's going to be a couple of heroes that benefit from this and that will have more uptime. Kunkka, for example, X marks the spot TPs, that kind of thing. Javelin damage reduced from 100 to 80, so it's a pretty big deal. So now that means it deals 20 damage on average instead of 25. So it may not seem like the biggest thing, but yeah, it's a 20% reduction in damage, which you can tell here, I guess. But yeah, Mjolnir attack speed reduced by 10, so small nerf to Mjolnir. Orb of Venom damage reduced, the slow increased, and the slow duration reduced. Okay, so it is a weaker damage item, but it slows better. 15% is pretty significant, and the amount of time that you slow for is weaker. Does it still do the same? So it looks like on ranged heroes, it's just straight up. Is it even changed? It's basically just worse. It's definitely worse on ranged heroes because the slow is still garbage. It'll be a fix to some things, probably. Yeah, it's still garbage on range. I mean, it basically does about the same damage, not that much different. But on melees, it's going to be much better utility-wise and less about damage, which I think is completely fine. Screw the damage over time. It doesn't really matter that much. but it's going to be a little bit better on like roaming 4 heroes for sure. Ring of Regen cost reduced. No longer requires an Iron Branch. No longer provides +3 stats. And the regen increase. So, interesting. So let me get this straight. It's just so much cheaper. But it doesn't give you stats anymore. It's basically like an AoE ring. I mean, Hedras kind of needed to be nerfed probably because pro players were starting to just go to lane with it, even if they were like a hard carry, because of the regen that it provides in lane. Really helps you win it. So I'm not surprised we're seeing this in Ring of Basie nerfed. But my qualms is that there aren't a lot of items to buy in the early game that give like stats and general lane benefit. I mean, what does this take to create now? Just the recipe and the ring? So it's 375. It is cheaper though, right? It went down in cost by 25.75. So you can definitely buy it and then lane with it. I assume this is the same. Mana regen increased by 0.25, which is fine because 0.75 was garbage. It's like no reason to ever have a Sage's Mask sitting in your inventory compared to something like a Raindrops. Cost is cheaper now too, so you could actually start Sage's Mask pretty reliably right now. Basie, same thing. No more stats, more mana regen from the aura. So you could start Basie pretty happily, just you're not going to get any stat bonus from it. Buckler, same thing. Much cheaper, 75 less for the recipe. No longer Ironwood Branch and more armor than what it used to. So you can buy Buckler at start now. In fact, it's the same price as the other ones now. So 2.5 armor, no stats, no stats, no stats. So they're just straight up more aura items. Rushing Vlad's is going to feel a lot worse for sure on offlane heroes because you don't just have like 6 stats. Because if you build Buckler and Ring of Basie, you would have +6 stats before. But now you're not going to have that anymore. So on some of those like offlane heroes, it's probably going to feel bad. You do still get stats once it completes, I guess. And the mana regen is better, which is not terrible. But until you finish the item, it'll probably feel worse. With that said, it's actually a lot cheaper now. 2100 used to be, what, like 2300 basically? Something around there. So, I don't know, maybe people will rush it after all. 5 stats is not terrible for the cost. Like it basically got almost, in no way, almost, it lost 1 stat. It lost 1 stat and it gained mana regen by 0.25. So Vlad's is like straight up better now. It's just worse to build before it's finished. That's it. So Vlad's is still good. Veil of Discord, little mana buff. I was hoping they would do this as, I mean, I guess it's already part of the Basie. I think Vlad's or Veil is kind of, I'm still sad about Veil, the change they made to it. I really liked the armor and HP regen that it gave. I really like that on a lot of heroes. But 9 all attributes is really good for 2,000 gold. You can buy an ultimate orb for 2150 and it gives you 10 all attributes. This gives you 9. So Bloodthorn now requires Hyperstone instead of Crystallis. The attack damage reduced heavily. The attack speed increased massively and no longer has a passive critical strike chance. Okay. So 85 attack speed. It's a lot cheaper too, by the way. 68.75 instead. Because it doesn't require, it still requires a recipe. I guess it's just a little bit cheaper. It's like 300 gold less. 25 int, 85 attack speed, 30 damage. So you can probably justify buying this on non-int heroes now for sure. Like strength heroes could definitely buy Bloodthorn more reliably, I feel like. Because strength heroes need a lot of attack speed, basically. Like if somebody has bad agi gain, Bloodthorn is going to be a lot more valuable. So because like before you'd always have to buy like either AC, Mjolnir, Moonshard, something, one of those 3 items, but now you could also buy Bloodthorn potentially as an attack speed item. There's definitely going to be some heroes this is really good on. It's probably a little worse on heroes like Storm Quap, but maybe not that bad. Storm does like attack speed a lot. I'm not sure if it's necessarily better or worse. It's hard to say. You'll still do True Strike when you Bloodthorn people, and you'll still get mini crits there, but it just doesn't do as much passive crit. Really good on Brood now. Does that really change anything? Him having more attack speed instead of raw damage? I don't think it's that different personally. Just kind of depends. I don't know, maybe there's some hero that it's like really busted on, but like you could argue it's really good on maybe like, I don't know, who needs a lot of attack speed, like Monkey King or something. I'm not sure. Battle Fury now requires Broadsword and Mithril Hammer instead of Demon Edge Recipe. Changing it again, man. This is like the third time. So, Broadsword, Mithril Hammer instead of Demon Edge Recipe. Broadsword also is cheaper, 1,000 gold. See if that goes into the same for Blade Mail. 1,000 gold for Broadsword now. So still Perseverance. So it's basically like back to old Battle Fury. You don't need the recipe anymore. Perseverance with damage items. Hammer, Sword, Perseverance, Quelling. You'll always start Quelling. You could potentially... I think we're going to see pro players get Broadsword really quick in lane now. As like your damage item. Quelling Blade, Broadsword, that kind of a thing. Maybe Hammer afterwards, maybe Perseverance, and then finish it. It's probably what we'll see. Because 16 damage for 1,000 gold for 16 damage is pretty good. I mean, they'll still buy like Phase First or something, or Treads. But 16 damage for 1,000 gold feels like just cheap enough that they can get away with buying it early. I mean, you still shouldn't skip Wraith Bands because the Wraith Bands are not just damage. Wraith Bands are most importantly attack speed. It's like 10 attack speed each. If you have damage, that's great and all, but if you don't have attack speed, you're not going to deal enough damage anyway. So you kind of still want Wraith, and it's not just attack speed, it's also the slight HP they give you in the slight mana and the armor. All of those things are pretty important. So you should still probably buy Wraith Bands, but I'm saying that going Wraith Bands into like a Broadsword pretty quickly could give you pretty decent damage in lane. Crystallis nerfed. This is a very popular item. Recipe cost increased by 200. The damage is reduced by 9, and the critical strike chance increased by 10%. So it crits more often. Probably does the same, about the same damage, I would guess. But crits a little bit more often, so it's going to go back into less of a generic damage, value damage item. Vanguard no longer has a 200 gold recipe. That's cool. I like that. And then they increased the recipe cost of Crimson by 200. And this one also by 200. Is that how this works? Oh, I see. You don't build Crimson into Abyssal. You build Vanguard into Abyssal. So both of these are increased by 200 to compensate for the fact that Vanguard is 200 cheaper. Otherwise, those items would be 200 cheaper. Also, that's all. So yeah. So basically, if you want to build Vanguard, it's just a lot easier and cheaper now. You can just swing into a side shop, boom, boom, buy a Vanguard really quick, which is nice. It's probably one reason it's not built as often is because of the recipe change was really obnoxious with it. So big fan of this because Vanguard is. Oops, I'm going too far. It's a good item, but it's a little bit. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to build. So definitely really good for like offlane heroes, especially because it'll be easier to swing by side shop, pick up the components. Eagle Song 200 less, agility reduced by 5, E-Blade primary attribute damage reduced. The primary attribute damage. Oh. I was confused. I thought that it was saying something that it wasn't. It's down to 150%. So it used to do 2 times your primary attribute in damage. Now it only does 1.5 times. So yes, using E-Blade on Morphling is going to be worse now. But the base damage goes up, so the item will be better to build on any other hero than Morphling. Or any other hero that has, than somebody that has a boatload of agility, pretty much. Because it does 50 more base damage now. So you can better use it on heroes that don't have like an absolute shitload of the same stat. Is this a nerf to Meepo? Probably. This is probably a Meepo nerf, I would guess. Maybe it's about the same. Hard to say. Meepos have a lot of stats, but they don't have like a ridiculous amount. Breaks even at 100 agility. Okay. So it's about the same if you have 100 agility. Okay. Or other stat. Okay. Yeah. Kaya Sanj. Most importantly, actually, it's also 200 cheaper, right? It costs less money. So you can buy it faster. Butterfly, same thing. Butterfly is actually not that expensive anymore. 52.75. That's really not that bad for the gold. Butterfly used to be a really expensive item, but at the moment, not terrible. Could maybe justify buying it on strength heroes a little bit more too. because if you lose a little agility on a strength here, it's not that big of a deal. Kai Sanj, mana loss reduction increased by 2. The spell amp increased by 2. Same for Yashikaya. Okay. How much is a 12 on Kaya for mana loss? And now it's 18. So you get 50% more mana cost mana loss reduction by upgrading it. It's pretty big. Give me them double swords. Okay. Nullifier no longer mutes enemies. Now continuously dispels the target, so it's like Shadow Demon ulti. Duration reduced by 1 second. Slow reduced from 100.4 to 80%, so the slow is less significant. Lasts slightly longer, but most importantly, the slow will be less. You can't move. Cooldown reduced from 13 to 11. Wow. So basically, 5 out of 11 seconds, you can continuously dispel somebody. And the cast range increased by 300. Armor increased by 3. The damage increased by 15. This is a pretty fucking huge buff to Nullifier. But it doesn't mute enemies, is the big thing. But if you want to dispel your opponents, if you're playing against somebody that has Ghost Scepters or Glimmer Capes or other things, if you're playing against a Wind Ranger, Nullifier is bonkers good now. But it doesn't prevent people from using BKB. So, but the item is just better. 8 armor is a lot. 80 damage is quite a lot. So for ganking heroes, Nullifier is definitely still good in the right circumstances. It's still really good against supports, is the most important thing. This is like the most significant thing about it for sure. Against cores, Nullifier is not going to be as busted as it used to be, because cores will usually have Black King Bar to protect themselves. But against supports, Nullifier is really, really good. Ghost Scepters, Glimmer Capes, that kind of thing. That's usually what you use it for when you kill supports, is dispelling those kinds of protection items. So still has a place. We'll see if later on in the patch that we find a new item that mutes items or some other way to better disable people. Force staff cast range reduced to 550, 850 for enemies. So force staffing people to your high ground is going to be a lot easier, and it's a little bit harder to force your allies to safety. No longer undispellable. Does that mean that if somebody is being force staffed that you can dispel them? Does this also mean, because it has a bit of time to push somebody, it also means, I would guess, that if Nullifier is on somebody and they use Force Staff, then the Force Staff just won't do fucking anything. It'll be like if you try to use Yule's Scepter while SDLT was on you. It just doesn't work. So basically Nullifier counters Force Staff is the obvious thing right now. Because if this does a 5-second continuous dispel, the guy that you nullify can't be Force Staffed by allies, pretty much. So this is how the game is going to change, basically. Rather than preventing people that you're going on with Nullifier from using items to save themselves, they can use those items, but Glimmer's not going to work, and Force Staff is not going to work either. I said Ghost Scepter and Glimmer, now it's also going to be Force Staff. So Nullifier is like the item to slay people that have defensive items. It is like the support counter at the moment, is what this looks like. Which is really, really effective and scary if you're playing support. If you don't have a skill that you could use to protect yourself. But even a lot of those are dispellable. Like Frost Armor on Lich. Or whatever it's called. Hurricane Pike allied cast range reduce as well, and also no longer dispellable. So, okay. Observe Reward Vision reduced by 200. Interesting. Holy Locket Recipe reduced. Oh, buff the Holy Locket. 300 gold cheaper. So now it's 2450. So that means it is now a 2,000 gold upgrade. So if you want 250 health, 325 mana, and a little bit of regen, you could buy Holy Locket now. It's slowly gonna become good, guys. It's coming. Someday, not too far in the future, Holy Locket will be good. It's probably still bad. You're not wrong. Because most heroes don't just need raw health, raw mana. I mean, people buy bracers and stuff. You could argue that it's like, well, why buy 2 bracers when I could buy Ring of Trask? I didn't realize it was this cheap. This is like crazy cheap. Buy Ring of Trask instead of Tranquil Boots? That's probably not worth. You could definitely justify buying a Ring of Trask over a bracer, though, for some heroes. But most heroes just don't. Because this is 120 HP. So Ring of Trask gives you more HP than a bracer, costs slightly more, gives you some regen. I don't know, maybe there's some situations where this could be good. I don't know what they are yet, but maybe it exists. Necronomicon gold and experience bounties reduced heavily. Okay, this is really needed because buying Necro just felt bad because you use Necro and it's like, oh, I just gave him 200 gold. Whoops. 50 for each is, I think, fair. This mostly got nerfed a lot when people were... There's a period of time where people were abusing it with like Arc Warden, and a lot of teams would just buy them and like send them high ground kind of. So the item got nerfed a lot for how much gold it gave. I think reducing the cost is fine. Because still level 3s are still pretty powerful, but it's not going to punish you as much if you get level 1. In some ways, it might encourage people to only leave it at level 1, because the level 1 Necros still do a lot of damage. You don't get the True Strike, though, or the Purge. But and this cooldown reduced, so that's a buff. And Silver Edge debuff now reduces regen heals by 50%. Okay, that's a nice little change. So breaks for 4 seconds, and disables heal and regen by 50. So it's like a weak version of... Spirit Vessel, which I think is completely fair. Very cool way to make the item a little bit better. 15 all attributes, 30 attack speed, 45 damage. It's a 60 damage item with 45 attack speed. It's like a butterfly, kind of. It's like a lot of... It's like damage, attack speed, everything. Not bad. In the right circumstances, this is really good. I assume it's dispellable. I might be wrong. Clarity duration reduced by 20 seconds, and the mana regen is increased, which is only going to be good for pro players, I assume. However, let's do some math really quick, guys. It's time to open the spreadsheet. Let's do a little bit of this. So, where are we here? Okay, cool. So 50, 30, 4.5, 6. This is pretty small, sorry. How can I make this bigger? Yeah, you can see that. And then we'll go equals times this. Enter 225 mana from an old clarity potion. Now it gives 180. Okay, that was your answer. Clarity potions now heal you less than they used to, but it gives you more mana more rapidly. Keep in mind that we just got mangoes nerfed. They went from 125 mana to 110. So mangoes give you less mana. Clarities now give you less mana, but they give you more in a shorter period of time, which is kind of a big deal. Just because that means you're going to be more able to use clarities during the laning stage without like leaving the lane for 50 full seconds. You could leave the lane for 20 seconds, for example. Let's see how much mana do you get per gold, by the way? Let's figure that out. So equals this divided by 50. So you're getting 4.5 mana per gold before. Now you're getting 3.6. Let's compare mangoes. Old mango, new mango. Goes this divided by 70. And so before, mangoes were pretty efficient, relatively. Here's the clarities were 2.5 times better mana per gold than mangoes were previously. Now it is a little bit closer. Mangoes are a little bit more efficient since clarities got nerfed, but still clarities are 2.3 times better mana per gold than a mango is. So if you have the capability to use a clarity, you should use it if possible, even if you lose some of that time. So what this is basically telling us is, let's say, how long does it take us to get to 110 mana, basically? So we'll say 110 divided by 3.6. So if you can use a clarity for... No, that's wrong. It should be 110 divided by 6, not 3.6. So if you use a clarity potion for 18.3 seconds, you will have gotten as much mana as you would have by eating a mango. So if you can not take damage from an opponent for 18.3 seconds, you've saved 20 gold and you've gotten equal mana to a mango. So that's I just wanted to make that really clear. I get that they're cheaper though. I understand that, but I want people to understand that like sometimes I see low level players copying what pros do. And what pros do is they say, I'm in the mid lane, I'm laning against my opponent, I'll bring out 2 mangoes, they'll drop their nil talismans, they'll eat like 2 or 3 mangoes, they'll be full mana again, they'll pick up their items, right? But what low level players do sometimes is they try to reproduce this. So they're like, I'm just going to keep bringing myself mangoes, and they eat way too many mangoes. And I'm just trying to show that, hey guys, you can use a clarity potion for 18.3 seconds, and you will have spent less money than you did on mango, and you got equal mana. So I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, let's turn this off and jump back into it. I'm getting a phone call. Is this a good time? It is a pandemic. 1 second, guys. Well, that was not worth it. She wanted me to give her feedback about how my recent car service had been a week ago. Okay, where were we? Clarity potions, infused raindrops, more mana regen here. So basically there's less. What's basically happened is Ice Frog has nerfed the mana regen sources coming from consumables, clarities, and mangoes, and he has buffed them coming from static long-term ways like Sage's Masks, Raindrops, Ring of Basilius, and Vlad's. So something to keep in mind. Here's another buff, Medallion. This one's pretty huge, actually. Bottle cost reduced by 25. Is that still worth? It's gonna, I guess. Medallion mana regen is much better. 1.25 is pretty significant. Keep in mind Urn is like 1.5, so Medallion being only 0.75 was garbage. But Medallion got a little over nerfed when they started worrying about armor creep a bit. So Solar Crest mana regen is a little bit higher, 1.75. But almost nobody buys Solar Crest anymore. The amount of armor it gives you is just pretty mediocre. It's like the attack speed's still great, obviously. The movement speed that it gives allies is still great, but most times it's not very worth building. Ring of Health, more regen, less cost. Voidstone, just less cost because it just got a bunch of buffs. It used to give like 1.5 mana or something. Now it's 2.25. Perseverance, health regen goes up a bit. Hood of Defiance, more regen. More regen here. No longer is providing 3 stats from pipe. Little baby nerf there. Is it cheaper though? Can't remember. It's about what I expected it to cost. Lotus Orb mana cost much higher, so using Lotus Orb repeatedly is going to cost you a lot in terms of mana. 150 is pretty significant. Interestingly. Helm of Iron Will, health regen massively buffed, and cost goes up just a little baby amount. What does that even build into? Armlet? Damn, Armlet nerfed, man. Armlet nerfed, Crimson Guard nerfed, Nullifier nerfed. Helm of Iron Will, pretty good item though. 5 regen, 5 armor? That's not bad. Oh, my Dota symbol is glowing. It wants me to click there. Maybe it's like, you need to update. Too bad, I'm sticking to it. Ring of Trask. Okay, this is why the item was so cheap, because I noticed it was 600. I just assumed I was not paying attention from a previous patch, but yeah, it's 600 gold now. And the regen got buffed also. Ring of Trask, pretty solid, I must say. It's got to be worth to buy this shit in a lane now. For like some offlaners or something. But the problem is that it doesn't build into anything. Just Holy Locket and Heart. Heart's super situational, obviously. Holy Locket. I mean, maybe if I'm playing like Dazzle or something, I'll build Holy Locket now. But I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, if I'm playing like some healer hero, it would make slightly more sense to buy Ring of Tarask than a Bracer in the off chance that I buy those items later, because 4% magic resistance is pretty tiny. It's almost enough where like, oh, having 4.5 HP regen is actually better to be honest. Very similar in terms of benefit. Tranquil Boots, health regen nerfed a little bit. So basically nerfing tranks, buffing to regen items of all other sorts. It's basically like Tranquils is probably just far and away the only good regen item worth getting. And all heroes naturally get enough regen anyways outside of Tranquil Boots. So it's like nobody would ever buy regen items outside of like Tranquils if they really needed it. So this will make that slightly more appealing. Abaddon, level 25 talent. Thanks for the sub. Increased for more AoE. Alchemist agility gain buff. Arc ward and movement speed buff. Tiny little baby things. Slightly more armor, slightly more attack speed. It'll make him scale a little bit better as a right clicker, but not that big of a deal. Bat Rider getting nerfs because Bat Rider's been pretty popular in the pro scene. 4% movement speed reduction from Firefly, and Flame Break impact damage is reduced by a little bit. A lot in the early game, kind of, but not that much, really, realistically. Beastmaster attack speed increased by 10. Wild Axe's damage type changed from physical to magical. Okay. And the debuff duration increased. So, this is interesting. Wild Axes is one of those items that's been, or skills that's been physical damage for forever. But now that they deal magic, thanks for the 5 subs, appreciate it. Now that they deal magic damage, you can combo them. I guess you could use them with Veil before, because it would have amplified the physical damage. You could bought like Veil and Solar Crest hypothetically. But the fact they do magic damage is going to make them probably easier to combo with, because there's more skills that amplify. I mean, there's a lot of minus armor in the game, but there's more skills that can amplify magical now. So you could potentially do... yeah, you're right. It used to be composite. You're very right, actually. That was poorly said by me. It used to be composite damage, which means that it would be reduced by both the amount of armor your opponent had and their magic resistance. That meant composite damage was like garbage late game, because by then people had both higher armor and higher magic resistance. So when it changed to all physical, the damage went up a little bit, but then they had to nerf the level 1 axes because it was too good for a while. So now it's magical, which is going to mean that it does more damage to creeps now, is one thing. Because it doing physical before, creeps have armor. Creeps don't have magic resistance. So Wild Axes against creep waves is going to be stronger than it used to be. What else? That's the main thing. Oh no, they reworked Bounty Hunter Scepter. I guess that's about it. Beast Ags 2. What does he mean? So the Beastmaster Ags before, you could throw the axes and then throw them again. I think he was just trying to get me to point it out. So the thing he's trying to point my attention to is that the Wild Axe debuff duration increased by 2 seconds. So the way that Wild Axes work is that when you hit somebody with them, for every axe that hits, and usually it's 2, they take 12% more damage. So when you hit somebody with both axes, they take 24% more damage. And that's the damage I do with my hero. It's the damage that my axes do. And it's the damage that my creeps and other summon units do. It doesn't increase the damage that anybody else does, I believe. But that's it. So when you buy, what they're trying to encourage is to buy Aghanim Scepter, because the fact that the damage is now magical against the right lineups, you could basically continuously throw axes. You throw the axes, they come back to you with Ags. You throw them again, they amplify the damage again. You throw them again, they amplify the damage again. So you could see some like Beastmaster stuff where you max out the axes and you throw axes until people die, kind of a thing. But it wasn't really successful before. I would say probably part of it was the fact that people's skill builds would not max axes first. It was better to go Boar and Aura. But maybe going axes with something else could be more valuable now. Who knows? Maybe even like axe boars. I don't know if support Beastmaster is viable at all. Not that you could farm Ags fast. You could play maybe like Beastmaster mid better now. Get a lot of aura. Get a lot of levels. Max out Wild Axes pretty fast. You did that once with Beastmaster in history. You'd go axes with aura. You're a creep, so to attack faster, you'd blast waves, get bottle, refill mana. You could probably do it pretty good right now, actually. I would say Wild Axes are going to be worse at stacking. That's actually one disadvantage to Wild Axes now, is that if you stack neutral camps before, when they'd get magic resistance swords, you didn't give a shit. So that part's worse. But maybe that's why they changed the damage type to magical, so you couldn't just do what I just said. Go mid and like spam axes with bottle, stack camps, and then clear them for shitloads of gold. It's probably worth exploring. And then if you go mid, you can get more gold faster, and then you can get ags relatively quickly, and then use ags to decimate the game at a higher damage output than you would have been able to normally. So that's my guess. We'll add that to a list of heroes to play. Beast, mid, axes. Transition to ags. And you have 10 more attack speed on your hero itself, so you could probably better get away with like amplifying people's damage with axes and then killing them. Okay, Bloodseeker, Blood Rage, heal rescaled. So you heal less with low points of Blood Rage. 10% is pretty small. Is that your health or their HP? I can't remember. Blood Rage units percentage of the max health of any units they kill. Okay, so it's 10% of the creep you kill. So if you kill a creep, it's going to give you like 50 health. Not that much. Yeah, we'll make it a little bit harder to lane on Bloodseeker. A little nerfs to that hero. Bounty Hunter Rework Scepter now applies Janata to Shuriken Toss, increases cast range to 650, and lowers cooldown to 6. A little sad that they changed this because I really did like the Bounty Hunter Ags. I thought it was close to viable, but you will get more gold this way. Shuriken mana cost is cheaper at lower levels. If it applies Janata Shuriken Toss, you'd basically Janata everybody. The Janata does like 150 damage. So you're basically doing bonus damage, increases cast range to 650, and lowers cooldown to 6. You could, you'll basically be able to Shuriken every 6 seconds instead of like, what is it, 10, 8? What did it used to be? It's just 8. So the cooldown goes down by 2. Cooldown goes down by 2. But it Janatas everybody. So you'll get like 30 gold per person that it hits. I don't know if I like this. You do more AoE damage, kind of, but it's like you did a shitload of damage anyways with the Shuriken Toss. But I guess like now you get gold even if you don't kill heroes. I guess. I don't know. Level 15 talent, no more 50 attack speed. It's now Shuriken Toss damage. And did they move that down? Yeah, they did here. So they moved the Shuriken Toss damage to 15 basically to make the Ags build a little bit more viable. And then added the attack speed talent to 20. So you can still go DPS if you want, but now it's a little bit harder of a decision. 20 is either like you have Ags. Like if you have Ags on Bounty Hunter, you definitely get Janata Gold Steal, without a doubt. Because now when you throw the Shuriken through, you're going to get a lot of gold. You're basically just going to generate gold for yourself by getting Ags and hitting level 20. But if you want to go DPS build, you still can. You can go 20 damage, 350 health, 60 attack speed, that kind of a thing. Okay, interesting. I think this is probably still better for the hero as a concept because it's a little bit more cohesive, I would say. So rather than just being like a nuker, it's like the talents help you better. Basically, the talents flow a lot better. There's like 3 talents that are really good now for bounty ags, or whereas before I was just like the Shuriken Toss damage was like the really good one. Everything else for that build was kind of like just okay. Oh, Brewmaster buffs, please. Primal Split, Fire Bruling damage increased in the late game, and the permanent immolation interval changed. So this means it'll interrupt blink daggers easier, which I think is a big deal because before you'd split, it takes some time, and then people run away from you. Sometimes they blink away. Level 20 talent change. I just finished reading. I'm just really disappointed. Level 20 talent change increased from 1500 health Primal Split to 1750, and the 25 talent 10 seconds less. So this means that if you Primal Split in the late game, it is going to be 20-second uptime. Well, basically the cooldown would go down to 50, right? Minus 75. No, it's 45, actually. 45 seconds. So you use Primal Split, it'll end, and you'll have 25 seconds left to use Primal Split again. So, I don't know. I know Brew is being picked once in a while by pro players, like 3-3 plays it sometimes, and people build a lot of auras, and maybe the item build isn't quite explored well enough yet. But right now I feel a little bit lost on laning stage on him. I've been like getting third skill a lot lately, but I kind of want to just go back to doing like Cinder Brew Clap like I used to with Arcane Boots, and maybe I should go explore that more. But it's a little bit worse now because of the nerf to mana cost to Cinder Brew. Even though the skill is arguably better, it just feels a little bit weaker to me. So, I don't know. I feel like these changes are not going to do very much at all. It's good for late game Brewmaster, which is definitely one place he has trouble, I guess, because he falls off. But even though he's like decent early game. But I just feel like this hasn't really solved everything. But maybe they're trying to be careful that he doesn't become like lane broken and then just roll over games really hard. I don't know. But I like Brewmaster a lot, and these are like pretty small changes that don't really matter that much to me. The best buff here is the immolation interval change, and that's really not that big of a deal. So, Broodmother level 10 talent, 50 more health. Nobody, do people get that talent? Spawn Spiderling's damage on is pretty good. Buffed ability draft Broodmother players. Chaos Knight Phantasm cooldown reduced as the game continues. I think that's a nice change, nice buff to the hero, because he is very limited by Phantasm duration, and Reality Rift cast range is buffed as well. I think CK's had a pretty bad win rate, so this is a nice buff to him. Ags works right now to make Phantasm illusions of all nearby heroes, allies, and enemies, I think. So you can kind of get this massive wave of stuff. Just having a lower cooldown is really nice. And the cooldown talent is a 15% cooldown talent. Let's check it really quick. See what the late game cooldown is now. Because basically, by changing Ags, they remove the cooldown. Can't hit level to max. So 125, duration is 30. That puts you at 55 seconds. Or sorry, I'm thinking about a clock, not 100 scale. 95 second cooldown after your Phantasm ends. If you get the cooldown duration, then we're talking 106 instead. 106 minus 30 is 76.5. So 30 seconds up, 76 down. It's pretty good. It's 25% of the time it's up. It's not too bad. Okay. Where are we? Clink's Death Pact no longer has a neutral level requirement. I think that's a good change. I thought that was kind of bizarre aspect of Death Pact, was that you couldn't just like, you had to be careful what neutrals you use it on, which kind of like limits your ability to quickly get from what you're doing to doing the other thing. And Clink's is not, he's not a hero that statically farms. He's basically like a ganking carry, which makes him like very vulnerable, kind of like if you have a bad laning stage on Clink's, your game is like ruined basically, because it's hard. Like you can the one good thing is that you can leave the lane and go gank other lanes, and in that way you're trying to affect the game positively by getting kills, and that's in that way it's not bad that you have to, that if you're forced out of lane. But if those ganks all get slowed down, be like, oh shit, I can't use Death Pact on this creep. And I don't personally max out Death Pact very quickly. I usually max it out like as my, I'll get like 2 or 3 points in Searing Arrows, your second skill. And then I'll usually want to max out your third skill a lot, so your movement speed goes up, so you can escape, and so that you can get more attack speed. And then I'll max out Death Pact last, because generally I look at it as a minus armor skill, less so the health gain one. So I don't care that much to level it, because it only gives me 1 more minus armor. So the fact that now I could use it to just kill neutrals, it's a 90-second cooldown after all, you know? 90 seconds... I'm not going to be able to kill that many big neutrals with it. It will accelerate you now. Like every time you hit level 2 on Clinks now, you should walk into the neutral camps and eat a big creep, because that's going to give you like a third of a level, or I don't know what the numbers are, maybe a fourth. But you should do that now for sure. It's an easy gold bonus. And now if you get a kill as well, you get a kill on an enemy hero, your Death Pack gets refreshed, you can go eat another big neutral creep. So it's going to slightly increase his farm speed, which I think is really nice, because it's just, he's too reliant on either killing heroes or getting last hits in lane, because he's very vulnerable. He has like 416 HP at level 1 or something. It's crazy low. His movement speed is mediocre. If they bring Dust and Gap Close at all, you're just fucking dead every time. So I think this is a nice way to stabilize him a little bit and make his laning stage less garbage. Burning Army buffs by 2% as well. I think Burning Army is okay. I am happy with these Clinks buffs. I think these are nice. It'll make playing him a little bit easier. Your skill build is going to feel more varied, that kind of thing. So I'm happy with this as a Clinks liker. Freezing Field, Scepter, Frostbite timer reduced to 2 seconds. So this basically means if you buy Ags on CM and you use your ulti, that your opponents only have 2 seconds to get out of your Freezing Field AoE before they get Frostbite. I don't know if this means that once Frostbite ends, that it takes 2 seconds to apply again, or if this means that people get permafrostbite. Let's check. This is worth checking. I've never known how this functions exactly, because it's such a rare scenario. You just assume like, oh, this will be fine. All right, let's get an enemy. 2 frostbite. 1, 2 frostbite. It just doesn't reapply again. Oh, I did not know that. It just does 1 frostbite. I always assumed that it would apply multiple times. Was my assumption. 1, 2 frostbite. I had no idea. Well, now we know. Shit sucks. Usually she dies for she frostbites first time. That's not true. That's it. Well, if you're saying that, it's probably because you're buying eggs in the wrong order. You can't just rush eggs on CM because people are just gonna stun you. It's more like you get a blink dagger and a BKB, and then you're like, well, I'm doing really good and I have a blink BKB. It's time to buy eggs. With that said, her win rate is, I was gonna say bad, but it's not great right now, which is fine because it was really good before with the magic resistance aura. I'm surprised they didn't buff her more than this. This is like pretty small. And not that frostbiting people is necessarily bad. Like if people are right clicking you and trying to kill you, this is good. Land the frostbite faster. Like, I mean, you could even argue that like frostbite, like if you buy Ags, if you're spending 4,000 gold and you blink into an enemy team and they don't have BKBs and you frostbite every single hero there, you're dealing with 300 AoE damage. So you're kind of spending like, you're basically trading 4,000 gold to land 300 damage on every enemy hero and rooting them all and stuff like that, which is not bad. Like the utility, like frostbite utility has always been like at times good, but generally mediocre. If you're adding it to a skill you're already using, it's not terrible. So or you could jump in, frostbite a guy, use Ags, use your ulti, and you'll frostbite them a second time. So you could chain your frostbites. Not that your opponents weren't gonna have like Yules or BKB or Manta or something, but this will make it a little bit more usable. It's basically adding more reliability to Freezing Field, but this is such a small percentage of CM games. I feel like 1 out of every 12 games or something, I end up getting Blink and Ags. So it's like, I don't know, unless you want to look at it as like a tiny buff to like Core Crystal Maiden or something, I think this is like an irrelevant buff to the hero. So, Darkseer Surge movement speed changed from 70% to plus 250. Okay, so basically Surge is going to be good regardless of how much movement speed you have, instead of it being based on how quick the hero is normally. So, it's spreadsheet time, baby. Let's destroy all this garbage here. In fact, I think I should just retake the window. Let's just do a smaller one, like something like this. Yeah, this will be bigger. Okay, so here's some movement speeds. Why do the work when I can have the computer do the work, guys? Cool. This is how much movement speed Surge gave you before. Incredible. This is how much movement speed Surge gives you now. Fortunately, we can't just drag this down because it would add a 1 to it. Okay, there you go. Surge is just straight up better now. Did I do it wrong? No, it's not divide. It's multiply. Basically, before Surge, if it gave you a 70% movement speed bonus, you would multiply that bonus based on somebody's base movement speed. So if somebody is running around if they have a base of 270 or something, it would give them 189 movement speed. So it just gives you more movement speed now at all levels, except for like probably down here a little bit. Yeah, you have to have like a stupid amount of movement speed. So this would be like you're one of the fastest heroes in the game, and you have like a win lace before you get equal Surge movement speed. If I'm using Open Office, not Excel, so it's probably not going to work the same. So you can stick to your fancy nice programs, and I'll stick to my free garbage programs. Okay, so Surge cooldown increased by 3 seconds at low levels because it did get buffs. It was like, what, yeah, 3 seconds of duration. It definitely got made better. And then level 10 talent change. Oh, cool. So it removed the 90 damage talent, which I think is fine because that one was, it was like fine, but like both of those 10 talents were kind of garbage on Darkseer, I'd argue. Now it's Iron Shell radius. 125 is pretty big. I don't know what the radius of it is normally. 250? Okay. So the radius is now going to be 375. I assume most people will get that talent because it's just going to be easier to farm with it, for example. Let's check to see how big it is. I mean, you know, right-click Darkseer. He's got 1.8 agility gain. It's not great. Your dreams of, like, playing Darkseer core was already pretty garbage. We're just going to slow this game down a little bit. Don't mind me. Takes longer every time. I don't want to crash my game or my stream. Fuck it. Oh god. Oh god. Alright. Here's level 1 Iron Shell. It hits almost everybody. But now it will hit everybody. This is a very bad demonstration. Stop. I mean, this is a pretty big deal. 375 is huge. The better thing to do, I think, is to demo a hero that has 375 attack range. Jakiro's at 400, I think. 400. So it'll be a little bit less. So this is your attack range, basically. This is pretty fucking huge. So I don't know if we're gonna estimate here. I would say that the previous radius is like this, maybe something like that. So basically, like anyone near you is gonna take Iron Shell damage. That's pretty good because before it kind of felt like you had to stand right on top of them. I think this is a really nice change of Darkseer. It's gonna make like Darkseer combo builds feel a lot better. I am sure that like Iron Shelling your melee heroes and like letting them go do their thing is just gonna feel way better than before. Batrider's 375 attack range. Wonderful. Thanks for telling me that. Now, all right, let's go back. I think that is a very great change, and I'm happy that Darkseer has a talent at 10 that I'm actually excited to take. Dazzle. Oh god, Dazzle sucks so bad. Rework Scepter. When you cast an ability, you automatically launch an attack on 8 enemy units, up to 800 units away. All right, Dazzle doesn't suck anymore. I saw 2 lines when I looked at this, and I read the 10 talent. I was like, oh, your damage got reduced by 15. I was like, man, I'm gonna be so fucking disappointed.
Who needs healing?
It's about Poison Touch. You're right. That does make sense. Upgrades bad juju, of course. So the purpose is basically that if you Poison Touch the entire enemy team, that you will now attack them, and it's going to be easier to keep Poison Touch stacked on everybody. So basically you do this. No. some health, damn it. Hello. Okay, I think we're here. Can't wait for my editor to have to fix all that shit. Alright, so this shit is pretty sick. This shit is really cool. Yeah, Deso probably works. Because it should be based on attacks. Dazzle has become good again. It's going to be core Dazzle, most likely. Well, I mean, it's still not bad. Like, the fact that you can cast and attack somebody, it basically makes the damage challenge a lot better. Like, Ag's Dazzle was potentially busted too with AoE Dispel, but this is, like, crazy good. Yo, playing Dazzle in Siltbreaker right now is probably insane, actually. Cast a spell, attack everybody. Oof. Well, basically, when somebody gets attacked by Poison Touch, then it refreshes the duration, which continuously applies to slow, right? So, and Dazzle already functions by basically wanting fights to be very long, so you can continue casting spells, lowering people's armor, that kind of thing. Like, everybody gets the Deso. It's kind of crazy, actually. But, I mean, if this is how I'm functioning normally, just like trying to stay alive in fights, and now I can just... I mean, these are obviously very low level heroes and they have no armor, so that's part of the reason they're taking a buttload of damage. So we'll see how different it feels in actual games, but I think this seems very, very good. This is a buff to Dazzle that could actually make him playable, potentially. Because now you don't have to worry as much about what your hero is doing, you just have to keep casting spells. Running, cast spells, run, cast spells. Even like the cast range feels maybe irrelevant now. Diffusal or Scotty? No. Not worth. You're better off buying Deso than Diffusal, I think. Diffusal is only going to drain 40 mana. You're getting all this agi you don't need. No. Items you would buy would be Deso for sure, because then you can apply minus armor to everybody. What else? There are probably some neutral items that are crazy good, like the Orb of Destruction would be super busted, of course. Mindbreaker probably won't work on everybody. Enchanted Quiver won't hit everybody. But something like Robo could be really good, lower magic resistance for everybody. Dragon Scale would work. You would apply Burning on everybody. That's like almost 60 damage. What else? Prince Knife would not hit everybody. Stygian Desolator obviously would be very good. There are some good things for sure. Definitely solid though. Maelstrom could proc, but probably just once. So I think Deso is probably the best. Most likely. Even like a Blightstone could be good if you had Deso and Blightstone. Because your whole goal is lowering armor anyways with your ulti, right? So if you're walking around with a Blightstone for -2 and a Deso for -6, it's -8 armor. So that could be really good. Orb of Venom. Not worth it because you're ranged. It'd slow them by like 3% or something. You're right, it would work though. But it just wouldn't be very useful. You could probably lifesteal from everybody, I'm guessing. Any orb that you normally get would probably work here. So something like a Vlad's could be really good, actually. Let's try it some more. I know Mjolnir has internal cooldown. Yeah, it'll only work one time. Okay, perfect surround.
Prepare for battle.
Let's do this to make them tankier.
Wait for me.
Damage. And what was I gonna check? Something like a Vlad's.
Shadows.
Yep.
Ask and you'll receive.
So Paladin Sword.
I go where I needed.
Scotty, that's true. Scotty could work.
Shadows come. A hero dies. Triple kill.
This is maybe too good. Feels like whenever they... I'm already stressed out because I know they're going to have to nerf this. Seems way too good. Does it prioritize heroes? It fucking hits everybody, dude. It attacks everybody. Dazzle list to play. I mean, Dazzle getting farm here is not going to be bad. You could play Dazzle mid easily with this. Because your AoE damage. I mean, your single target damage is going to lack a little bit. You're not going to have hard disables. But, like, you're going to be able to farm so fast. All you have to do is buy Ags, and all of a sudden you can hit every single creep. Like, you can already instantly kill creep waves before. But now you're just going to rush Ags and, like, cast spells to nuke creep waves, basically. It is very similar to Puck. You guys are not wrong about that. 8 targets only? Oh, okay, you're right. Only 8. That's what you mean, prioritize heroes. Okay, you're right. My bad. Up to 800 units away. Yeah. This is going to be very good. All right, Death Prophet. Exorcism now grants 20% movement speed increase. This is nice. Make it a little bit better. Make it a little easier to chase people down, basically. Using like Spirit Siphon and chasing people down is going to be simpler. Makes the haste talent a little bit worse. But still good, yeah. Dragonite base movement speed increased by 5. Another buff to this slow man. 310 movement speed, that's not bad. He's getting there. Offlane Dragonite's coming, guys. How much movement speed does this give you? 25 now? Okay. That's pretty good. Well, the Dragonite's grown up. Oops. Draw Ranger attack animation improved. Okay. Easier to last hit with for bad players, which is really good for the game. Her animation gets reduced with your attack speed, so it doesn't always attack every 0.65 because she has agility and base attack time. Well, base attack time is a little different, I think. But it's going to be easier for her to get last hits and denies in lane now. Earth Spirit, huge agility buff, actually. This is massive. He's going to have like 20 more agility late game. That's armor especially. He's got really high strength gains, so free armor. Level, basically just straight up buffs the hero. More damage to the level 10 talent. I think everybody always gets Rolling Boulder lately. That distance has also been buffed. And more Spell Amp. Ice Frog has been trying to get people to get this Spell Amp talent at 20 for forever. It took removing the GPM talent. It's now 3.6 Geomagnetic Grip Silence. I forget. I barely pay attention to those GPM talents. A lot of these heroes I don't play very often, almost ever. But 20% spell up is potentially a lot. The Rolling Boulder damage is good. 8 armor is good. You can get quite tanky on this guy, actually. Play Earth Spirit way more in Underlords than Dota, that's for sure. Elder Titan, level 20 talent. More Echo Stomp damage. It's a pretty big deal if you stomp in melee range. You could probably clear creep waves with this, actually. Let's go check it out. That's actually a huge deal. If I'm playing like support Elder Titan, and I want to push waves, you cannot do that very well. So we'll check to see how much damage this does. I believe it doesn't kill the creep wave. Not even close. It will kill them though. They had under 250. Because it does that damage twice. It's not just a 125. It's 125 for your physical and 125 for your magical. So we just need the next wave. Or it doesn't matter, guys, because, well, it would reduce their 2 armor, but they have no magic resistance, so effectively it doesn't matter. Huge buff. Has a huge buff to support Elder Titan. So that's a 50 damage increase, basically. Before, you could probably... Keep in mind that creeps do gain HP over time, so maybe it won't be enough, but if I level my aura and they have 2 less armor, it probably one-shots them. It's probably very close. add in Spell Amp as well. I guess I had Spell Amp there because I was relatively high leveled. But yeah, if you can one-shot an entire creep wave with a melee stomp, that's a really big deal. Other talent is more magic resistance, 20% at 15, which is pretty solid. I like that one. Should make it easier to sit back and like wait to initiate correctly. Or to go in without having BKB, potentially. So it just buffs to support Elder Titan. Fog just reading this, very happy. Ember Spirit. Searing Chains cooldown reduced. So it is less garbage early game, and the mana cost is rescaled as well. So trying to encourage Embers to do anything other than Slight Chains. Keep in mind that Ember just got buffed with Boots of Travel being nerfed. He's more useful for those kinds of situations, so you could argue that it is more possible that you could max Searing Chains. Although maxing Searing Chains is technically the same as it was before. It's better to get some points in Searing Chains now than it was before. The damage scales really linearly. It used to scale up really nicely. The duration was kind of weird too. It's like all the numbers were really wacky, but now they're pretty consistent. It's fine. Dazzle Egg still works despite getting disarmed. Yikes. They should probably remove that. Sproink, distance increased by 50. I haven't seen an Enchantress buy Nags yet. Even though Enchantress is good right now, it's going to be hard to buffer, you know. So that's why they had to do these like little baby things. Like nobody uses Ags, so screw it. Enigma base intelligence increased by 3. Has 3 more damage, more mana pool. Black hole damage buffed quite a lot at level 1 actually. That's a 400 AoE damage pure nuke, which is pretty strong. Equivalent to like, what, 600? No. For every 75 points, it's effectively 100. So I should multiply it by 33%. It's like a doing math, 560 damage nuke AoE, I think, is how it works out. Malefice plus 100. There we go. There we go. There's a reason to get that talent. I think I complained about this last time. I was like, who would ever bother with 40 Malefice damage? It's like, it was so mediocre. It's like, what, you're going to go from 105 damage per hit to 145 for a talent over 15% cooldown reduction? There's like no way anyone would ever do this. Now it gives you 300 more damage. So Malefice would do 600 magic damage when you use it at level 15. And then if you get the level 25 talent, which seems really fun now, that would do 1,000 magic damage extra. So you would already do 600 with Malefice, and then hitting 25 and going to the right, 1,600 magic damage per 15 seconds. It's time to play Enigma, man. That looks fun. Adding that to the list. I haven't played Enigma in forever. I used to play him all the time. Stopped, basically. And, yeah. I want to nuke people. It's actually pretty nice, because Enigma always has done a lot of AoE damage, but he's always really struggled on single target. That's going to make a big difference, actually. Towards some games where you're like, I just need to be able to kill this like Huskar or something, you know? It could really help. Grimstroke has been banned a lot in the pro scene lately, which I'm surprised about, because I thought his skills have been just straight up garbage, but apparently some good things about him are there. Phantom's Embrace damage increased better as a level 1 skill, which I think is a nice little buff. But as a whole, about the same, just a better level 1 skill. That's the Ren damage is when it doesn't get destroyed in time. So it does 6 damage times 5, 30 damage. So it's 150 damage nuke if it doesn't get destroyed, which is pretty good. And you can reapply it, of course, so quite a lot of damage if it works. And then level 15 talent increased to 20% spell amp. I actually really like that talent. I think it's quite good to make Grim a nuker. You could probably get away decently to play Grim mid, actually, now that I think about it. I think playing Grim mid is probably not bad right now, because that talent is just fucking screaming at me. 20% is insane. Like, when Grimstroke's skills are leveled up, you actually do a buttload of damage, but the problem usually is that you're much more reliant on like casting your spells at the right time. But 20% is crazy, even if that's like a Dagon or something. You get a Dagon 1, it's a Dagon 2. It's a free Dagon. Free Dagon 2. And your other skills do a lot of damage. I just can't help but feel that something like mid Grimstroke could be okay. I think his base damage is pretty bad though, so maybe playing mid is bad. But and the 20 talent, more Stroke of Fate cast range by 200. I like that. What's his base damage? Yeah, it's pretty garbage.
Strokes of my brush.
You can make it work though. I think playing mid Grim could work. Plus 100 Mink spell mech damage. Yeah, just play Grim mid, go 30 movement speed, talent, 20% spell amp. Nuke people. I could see it. Space creator kind of thing. That looks fun. I should do that. It's kind of like Pugna, but worse at buildings. Adding it to the list. Grim, stroke, mid. All of these are mid ideas. Uh-oh. About to spread the virus. Oh, shit. Did you guys... I'm sorry. I hope you covered your faces there. I probably sneeze like twice a day. For my whole life, more or less. So, I don't know. Maybe I have it. I don't know. Alright. Oh, I missed this talent for Ember. Flame absorption buff. 350 is a lot. It's kind of a huge amount, potentially. That's only damage block. It blocks the damage before it's calculated, though. Sneezing wasn't one of the symptoms. I know. But if I'm asymptomatic, I'm spreading it. By fluids and things. Where are we at? Gyrocopter attack backswing reduced to 0.65. This is when Gyrocopter attacks, shoots his little pellet, and then his hero stands there for 0.976 seconds, or 0.97, almost 1 second. He stands there not moving if you're a bad player. If you're standing still and attacking with Gyro, he will stand there for a very long time. But now if you're a bad player and you don't animation cancel, that time will be much less. He gets a buff to strength though. Flat cannon nerfed by 1 at all levels, and the cooldown reduced. Wow, this is a huge buff actually. Huge buff to Gyro. They're pushing him in a different area. I'm gonna read the rest and I'll comment on this. The cooldown's reduced by half. 20 seconds is massively less. The duration is less. That means you can't hold it as long. But it does mean you could cast Flat Cannon, wait like 8 seconds, attack 5 times quickly, and then wait like another 5 seconds and cast it again. So you could actually cast it twice in a row pretty quickly if you time it correctly. Call down missile 2 damage increase. This is the second missile it hits, increased by a lot, and the cooldowns increased massively. So basically, big nerf to call down, in the sense that it is not a low cooldown ability anymore. But it does more damage. It's kind of like a cool way to buff the hero. Actually, it's like he's just straight up better at team fighting now because he has way more damage from call down. Like 100 extra damage is crazy good. That's at level 6. Like, you just do 350 AoE damage. Before this only did 250 AoE damage. Now it does 350 AoE damage to everything. It just has a really long cooldown. It's like actually a team fight ultimate, which is cool. Because before it just like, you're like, oh, there's a fight fucking call down. Did it hit him? I didn't. Oh well. What's the big deal? It's a shitty 125 mana, 55 seconds. Who gives a shit? It missed. But now, like, if you land that second missile, dude, 60% slow has always been there. It's been a lot, but the damage is way better. So, with that said, putting it at a longer cooldown makes it feel more special to me. Does that make sense? Is that weird? And then the level 20 talent changed for massive cooldown decrease, which is kind of funny because it just goes from 90 back down to 40. It's like 5 seconds less than it was before. This one was arguably better. But, I mean, if you're doing global cooldowns and it does 700 AoE damage, it's kind of fucking busted if it was 20 seconds. Because you could like kill entire creep waves. I mean, you probably could before, to be honest. You could probably nuke creep waves with cooldown before. So basically, cooldown is just worse, I would argue. I mean, nobody's gonna skip the movement speed talent. Is the other thing. It's like the movement speed talent is the best talent that Gyro has out of all of them, without a doubt. The rock barrage damage one can be really good, but like the movement speed is the best talent that there is for him. So like, I don't think anybody's gonna pick that one. I feel like that would have to be increased past 50. So this is like a little bit of a nerf, maybe. It's a little bit of a nerf, but not that big of a deal. You could use it for farming, I guess, but Flak Cannon is just straight up better. This is like way, way better. One less Flak is not a big deal, I think, because like you basically don't have to buy Ags necessarily to farm on Gyro. So basically Gyro's progression as a hero was like, he wasn't really played for a while, then people just started abusing Flak Cannon all the time. They would stack Ancients very often for him. They would pair him with Io. They would stack a lot of neutral camps, and you'd use Flak to kill everything, basically. But then Flak got nerfed enough where the cooldown was so long that it was like a little bit prohibitive to do that, because it would take... You'd usually have to Flak like twice to kill waves, to kill a whole wave. So people would just, when it became 40 seconds, it was like flak is like a once in a while thing, not like a I'm going to power farm for a while using flak cannon. So then you had to be reliant on using rocket barrage and single target damage to kill neutral camps. And that's why like Maelstrom and Eggs became good, because buying Eggs would basically double your physical damage outputs, which is really important against neutral creeps, because if you don't have really good AoE, which Gyro did not outside of flak cannon, you couldn't kill those fast. Rocket barrage does not work well because there's 3 creeps. It would split evenly between them. So it's like a 600 damage nuke was like equivalent to a 300 damage AoE nuke. It was not very good, and you'd have to rocket barrage often. So then Eggs became popular, and now they're trying to push it back the other way to say like, all right, we'll go back to the time of like flak cannon AoE to farm, and it's going to make the Eggs build less necessary, or you could max flak first, farm yourself an Eggs, and then rely on your right click and other items to farm. So I think it doesn't bother me as a person that has not seen this in literally years. We're going to probably see this a lot as Dota continues, is that some like playstyle for a hero that's been pretty static for years, they're going to be like, all right, well, let's push it slightly back towards the other playstyle just to shake things up. Because if they don't do that, then they have to like rework the hero kind of, you know. It's like you have to, something I'm beginning to understand now is that like Dota's life cycle is very old now. We've seen all heroes be viable in the meta at this point at various times. I don't think there's exceptions to that. Some heroes always at some point been good. Techies is maybe one person that's always been on the outside a little bit, but he also won TI, so anyways, we're going to probably see this happen where they're going to like push heroes back to a different playstyle a little bit with like buffing and nerfing of skills. And it makes me more excited because it will be fun to see those heroes played in new ways again, or different ways than we have seen in a very long time. So happy about Gyro, very, very excited. Huskar Berserker's Blood max attack speed has been reduced by 20 at all levels actually. So a little nerf to Huskar, this could be a big deal. Juggernaut Rework Scepter grants Swift Slash. Performs a mini Omni Slash that lasts 0.8 seconds. Cast range 650, cooldown 15. Very cool. Ooh. Very cool. This is very cool. Yeah, we need to see this. You're right. There's some mind games that you can do with this, obviously. What a cool little...
Prepare for battle.
So that's the thing. If you attack really slow, it's not that incredible. The best thing about this is actually probably the range. So here's basically what limits Juggernaut. What limits Juggernaut is that I am a melee hero and that I need to get close to people to kill them. So I have two options. I can either buy something like a Blink Dagger, that way when I see somebody out of position I can be like this and Omni Slash them and then know like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill them. Because I'm Juggernaut and I just Omni Slash a solo target. Or what you have to do is say, I'm gonna fucking kill him! Ah! And then you Omni Slash. But when you do that, people group up, they cast a spell on you. So then what you have to do is say, alright, I'm gonna Omni Slash that guy, here I go. Ah! And then they sit here, and they sit here, and they sit here, and then they're like, here comes the Omni Slash! And then they do it. But at that point, people have 5 seconds to react, right? Which is a bad thing. Now, what you can do is, I'm gonna Omni Slash. Ah! Got him! So the important thing is that the range is a lot farther. So it's going to be so much easier. No, you can't cast Omni. Wait, let me try that again. Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. So you can channel, even before it's done, you can basically use it to guarantee. So basically, once you use it, most importantly, it's 15-second cooldown. That's pretty small. So it might not be like a lot of damage, but it's basically like an Abyssal Blade. Which also is a good way to do it before. I would like to Omni Slash. Here I go. Oops, wrong. Abyssal Blade, Gap Close, that kind of a thing. But if you have to spend like 2,000 gold on an item just to do this, it's going to feel really bad. There's another example of them trying to fix that problem. Plus 75 Blade Fury movement speed. That way you could Blade Fury and be really fast as you Gap Close, for example. But I think this is really cool. The downside is that you're spending 4,000 gold on raw HP and raw mana, which isn't excellent on Jug generally. Typically, you can go pretty damage heavy on this hero to scale well to keep getting like Omni Slash kills, but I mean, the fact that you can use it to dodge projectiles and other spells is really interesting, I think. I assume you can't use it on allies. Yep. Because it's kind of like a blink strike, but if you have more attack speed, it's obviously going to be better.
As you wish.
But the important thing to remember is that if you're spending 4,000 gold on a raw HP item like this, it's a little negative because it's not damage. It only gives you 10 agility. The benefit is that, yeah, every 15 seconds you're going to chase better. Like, I can gap close and then hold shift and then I can spin afterwards. So that can be how I initiate now. I can just jump in like this. And now I'm 9 seconds away from this. When I use this for 3 seconds, I'm going to come out and I'm only going to be 3 seconds away, chasing, 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 and then do this as well. So like, if you space all your abilities out pretty good, it's okay. And the other nice thing about Ags is, one nice thing about it is that your raw HP is increased, which means that your healing ward does more, because your HP goes up by like 400, which based on this percentage, it's like 10% is 40, so 20 HP per second extra when this is maxed out, which is okay. So, an alternative to buy Scotty? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I don't think Scotty's that common on Jug. The raw HP is okay. It's a lot cheaper than Scotty. It's only 42. It's like 1,300 less. It's definitely cool. People are going to buy this too much. What's going to happen is you're going to get into games and people are going to rush this item, and that's definitely not good. There is no fucking way that you should rush this item, I don't think. Although, you could argue it's okay if you rush it if you're just trying to use it to gap close, kind of. Let's imagine like we're... Oops. Let's imagine we're like early game. Your starting items should probably be something like Wraith Bands, per usual, maybe a Phase Boots, maybe a Wand, some shit like this. This would be like your early game items. And then hypothetically, you could buy Ags here, but it's probably garbage. Because your damage is just not high yet. Like 99 plus 18. How much damage is this going to do? Like, it was okay, but like you really should have like one damage item here. Even if it's even like a Yasha or some shit, honestly. Something like this could do a lot too. Just to help you attack faster. Or maybe not a Yasha, maybe it's like a Diffusal or something. I feel like something like this could be better. And then if you fit an Ags afterwards, this would feel okay to me, I feel like. Now your mana pool is really high. It's going to be easier to basically utilize your skills. Like, spending money on tankiness items works best if you have skills that deal damage for you while you stay alive. But the problem with Jug is that like literally these skills are based on your attacks. So like there's gonna be like this balance that you have to get when you buy this item on Jug, because I think it will be useful sometimes, if not often. But you have to be careful how you use it. Nullifier is also incredible on this hero, because people are gonna use Diffusal or Glimmer Cave, Force Staff, that kind of shit. Is there any justification in rushing this? Probably not. Your armor's plenty good, mostly. I mean, it's probably not terrible. Nullifier is definitely pretty good on Jug now. I would say Nullifier with Ags is quite good, I would argue. If you did something like this, it would probably be pretty solid, because then you could do like... Although, again, you're generally going to want to save this for your Omni Slash, but... God, the range is so big.
Agreed.
I'd be like, I'm going to fucking kill you. Something like that. It's a lot of damage. Anyways. Bloodthorn? Bloodthorn would be good, yeah. Yeah. I just feel like Nullifier is probably a little safer. Well, Bloodthorn's not bad. Bloodthorn's just really expensive. Break has always existed. What are you talking about? Alright. Where are we at? Keeper of the Light. Level 10 talent, 6% spell lamp, 2 -3 blind. I like that a lot better. 6 just like, it's probably like on paper fair, but it just feels so small that like, I feel like a lot of players are just not excited about that. Blinding Light cooldown is good. What is it? 15? 14? Ooh. So that would put it down to 11. So that means you could Blinding Light, and there would be a 5-second downtime. But if you get that one, I'm sorry, 5-second downtime, Choco, you could definitely perma Blinding Light, which you almost could before. But that's pretty solid. You could basically Blinding Light and not have to necessarily rely on Chakra Magic to get another Blinding Light off. I could definitely see myself getting this talent. You could also farm with it too. Lower cooldown is not bad. Blinding Light, Chakra Magic, Blinding Light again. It's what, 7 seconds? Yeah. I think that's pretty good. What else? Will-O-Wisp health count to Will-O-Wisp Flicker. I like... Wait. Oh, they're moving them around. Okay, so it moved from the 15 talent health count to the 25 talent. And the 25 talent, the Flicker number... Flicker's at 15. Health counts at 25. Okay. So it used to have one more hit at 15. They moved that to the 25, and now it's 3 hit. And the flicker count goes down to 15. Yeah. So flicker is how many times it flickers before it dies. So it will last longer if people don't kill it now at 15. It's going to make Coddle really good. I think that talent is very tempting now. The health was like good, but I think the flicker duration is better because right now people are bad at focusing on the Will-O-Wisp. They're really bad at attacking it. So I think increasing the flicker number is only going to be good for team fights right now. Cast range is bonkers good. 250 cast range is insane, but flicker duration is good. Also, we're getting, instead of magic resistance at 20, it's now Will-O-Wisp AoE. 250 is crazy. This is so big. I gotta look at this.
The light guides me on my quest.
Prepare for battle.
This is really nice. I like that. So let's see what this feels like. This usually stops there. Or there. Lasts a long time. Oh, I'm at level 18, that's why the flicker count goes up. Usually lasts 2 less than that. Let's check the AoE now. This is so big. This is actually fucking crazy, dude. He can't even fucking get there in time, dude. What a coddle buff. I gotta play. Coddle is going on the list, dude. Team fight disruption. This is like crazy good team fight. Blinding light cooldown. The flicker flicks more often. The AoE is huge. Health count at 25. Like I might actually get that. Obviously, you can still kill it if people have BKBs or they're focused on it. But if I can get the health up to 9 health and it flickers 7 times, and the AoE is that big, that's crazy good. You went Battle Fury, Butterfly, Ags on Jug. That sounds good. Yeah, you'll need like 1 or 2 items first, I think, before it becomes effective. Battle Fury is a good way to do it, though. Increase your farm speed. You could probably use the jump thing to jump from neutral camps quicker, too. Yeah, those are huge coddle buffs. Very huge coddle buffs.
Keeper of the light.
Alright, Kunkka. Level 10 talent, armor buff by 1, and 25 talent, more cleave from Tidebringer. That's fine. The armor talent that's pretty huge, actually. I wonder if there's some space for playing Kunkka with like Radiance build where you don't get the 40 damage talent. It feels bad because 40 damage is insane for your farm speed, but if you can like stay alive, having extra armor is kind of insane. Maybe like a support going 7 armor could make a lot of sense, but no, people don't really play Kunkka support. Basically, X has been nerfed a few times. The cooldown is like super long. Torrent's okay by all means, but nobody bothers with Kunkka because it worked better when you were playing through tri-lanes, because then it wasn't a big deal if you had some support that wasn't individually that good but could guarantee like a 6-second disable effectively, you know. But now that you have to be the guy that zones, if you have Torrent and you miss Torrent in lane, like you can't function as a support. You need to be able to fight. So Kunkka support just doesn't really work right now is the problem. Legion Commander overwhelming odds damage buffed. That is the against enemy heroes nukes, and that does 120 per hero normally, but could be up to 200, which is kind of crazy. Pretty good against Meepo. I've gotten that talent a few times before, and it definitely felt underwhelming. But you know, against like a Meepo or something, it's an extra 400 AoE damage. Against an entire enemy team, if I had 5 heroes with that, it's an extra 400 damage. Yeah. So it could be good. 1 hero in a creep wave, it's probably more like a normal amount of damage instead of like, oh shit, nuke. Yeah, it's like if I hit 1 hero with it, it does 300 damage now if you get that talent instead of it doing 220. So that aspect could be really okay. But the 30 attack speed is also really good. Where are we at? Leshrac agility gain increased. A little surprised they buffed that, because I thought Lesh was being picked a little bit. Attack backswing reduced, buff for weak players. Pulse Nova activation cost reduced. So just straight up better. Okay. It's a pretty big change. It's going to make getting other extra levels of Pulse Nova feel a lot better. It's going to feel better to just turn Pulse Nova on for a second or two. You'll save 40 mana late game. So they probably had to do this because of the nerf to Boots of Travel. Lesh was pretty reliant on Boots of Travel for getting mana. So despite Lesh being picked, the change to BOTs just dumpstered him basically, because now he has major mana needs. Like Bloodstone's going to be, you're gonna see a big change for items. Like Bloodstone's going to be way more valuable now. For example, any item that gives you a lot of mana regen is going to feel better, because heroes that really need mana regen can't abuse BOTs anymore. So Leshrac, or basically any int caster, that most int casters can afford to go Boots of Travel generally, because they don't really need treads or phase too badly typically, so they can get away with BOTs. So they did that for they used that for their mana needs in the last patch, but with the BOT change, like those heroes they're gonna really care about mana regen. It's probably another reason that they buffed a lot of little mana regen sources like Basie, Sage's Mask, Medallion, that stuff, because it's actually going to be something that's really important right now. You get a DPS increase now for the mana with Octarine level 3 ult, because you can toggle it 0.75 cooldown. Yeah, I mean, you could get a DPS increase before, but it would cost you a lot of mana. You could turn it on, turn it off, that kind of a thing. But it's still probably not worth doing, typically. It's better to just leave it and focus on the fight, I would guess. But who knows, maybe not. Lena attack point reduced. Easier for her to last hit. Attack backswing reduced also. So her attacks are just straight up less obnoxious. She'll be a lot easier to last hit with. A little bit easier. Lone Druid level 10 talent changed. Yeah, I was wondering when they were going to remove the rule range Lone Druid thing. It's basically gone now, right? Because when you turn into bear form, when you use your ulti now, you are a melee unit. So I think the attack range didn't apply, right? So remove the talent. 30 bear movement speed is something that a lot of Lone Druids will take, I'm guessing. 30 is pretty big. I mean, the bear's going to be like really fast now. Like really, really fast. 30 movement speed is huge. Luna base strength increased by 2. Base int increased by 5. Wow. And agility decreased a little. Interesting. Is this a buff to support Luna, basically? This looks like... No, I don't think Luna needs a rework. I think Luna is functionally a great hero. Like, she's so iconic, in my opinion. I think it would be a huge mistake to majorly change Luna. Like, play with her aura, by all means, but I think Lucent Beam and Glaives. Glaives is absolutely iconic. Lucent Beam is, by itself, a mediocre normal nuke, but with Eclipse, it's a beautiful combo. I think it's iconic, and they should never remove that, personally. But yeah, play with the aura all you want. I think this is fine, though. This will give Luna 60 more HP at level 1. She's going to have way more mana, like 60 more mana. This is going to help make Luna support more viable, which became much worse because of how they changed the aura. The aura used to give stats. Now it just gives damage and armor. So Luna support just became like significantly worse, basically, because Before you could just get levels to get 6 damage. Now you get 15% damage, but you need items, which cost gold, to make that 15% valuable. So buffing her base attributes is just going to be good. And I think like her laning is also another issue. This isn't just about Luna support, really. This is also Luna core. More mana is going to be helpful. More HP is going to be helpful. A tiny reduction in agility gain doesn't fucking matter, because that matters the most in ultra late game scenarios. And by then, Luna's going to have a lot of items, because once she hits like level 10, she farms fast anyways. So this is just a straight up buff to the hero without making her just making her like slightly worse in the ultra late game. Because we're talking about 20 levels, her having 4 less agility, which really doesn't matter that much. So I think this is ultimately better. I'll trade that 4 agility for the 3 strength at the start of the game and the 5 int. It's like so much mana. A little bit of mana regen too. I think it's nice. I think Lucent Beam should lower armor and glaives reduce magic resistance. What? Nah, that's too weird, I think. Lycan Feral Impulse Health Regen increased by 1. I think Lycan already has a really high... Lycan is a hero that confuses me. I'm surprised more pro players don't play him constantly, because he's like one of the highest win rate heroes in the game, and he has been for a long time. But people just don't fucking play him. I think it's because he's a micro hero or something, so they just don't bother. Maybe his playstyle is like too boring. It's like Death Push or something, but... Shapeshift duration increased by 4 seconds. Did he get nerfs recently? I can't remember. Transformation time got decreased. Shapeshift duration got increased. Got that Ags granted that nobody buys. Thank you for the sub. Oh shit, I haven't ran ads at all today. I should probably do that. Okay, let's take a small break. And I'm going to run them advertisements so that I can make money from Jeff Bezos. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to pee. "30 seconds. 25 seconds. Okay. So what I was thinking about Lycan eggs could be good in game situations where Lycan is good at like early game tempo stuff, like closing out towers. But if you can transfer some of that high net worth that you have into making another ally much stronger, that's pretty valuable. Like imagine if you have some like, I mean, it isn't necessarily good to have like another hard carry with Lycan, but even some like melee core, some like tempo creator like, what's his name? Void Spirit or something. If you turn him into a wolf, more movement speed, and the 40% chance to crit is still really good. So I could definitely see like Ags being a good way to transition Lycan. I did wash my hands. Yes, the minimum is not 30, it's 20 actually. Oh, another update. Alright, let's continue. Magnus, Shockwave slow duration increased to 0.9. And level 10 talent increased. 50 more health and more shockwave damage. The talents that people don't get on Magnus. I mean, I didn't play Magnus much when he was busted. But, I don't know. Maybe he will someday become a nuke again. How'd they change Ags? Oh, that's right, the shockwave thing. Mars God's Rebuke Scepter now always lowers the cooldown rather than just during Arena of Blood. Okay, that could be potentially busted. Very cool. And the Scepter cooldown from 1.4 to 3.5. So it's not like... This is really cool, actually. Mars carry could potentially be a thing. God, it's actually really sick. So before, the way it worked was you'd use your ulti, and during that timer, you could use God's Rebuke very often, every 1.4 seconds. But now, if you buy it, it just lowers the cooldown down to 3.5. Period. So you can't super spam it, but you can still use it very often. And it does 270% crit damage. This is like a really good way to transition the hero in ultra late game. Like playing mid Mars could be more viable this way because you're not so much just about using your ulti, spearing a guy to your wall, and trying to burst. You could become more of a carry. You should still definitely have lifesteal, because lifesteal is still going to be really effective with God's Rebuke, especially if you buy Ags. But in much the same way that it works for Juggernaut, kind of, like this could better... Gives you raw HP, and it gives you a little bit of damage, and it could help you carry a little bit. Playing something like Mars mid could be more viable. It's probably not great, but you could... probably move back towards that kind of playstyle, I think. Medusa level 15 talent, Mana Snake, Mystic Snake mana gain at plus 40% instead of 25. This is a huge amount. Is that based on your mana or how much mana you steal? Let's check. Because if I hit somebody with a snake that has buttloads of mana... let's make this guy.
Prepare for battle.
Oh god. Okay, a little too much mana drained. Oh shit, he's got a lot of mana. So, 589. So it does drain. It drains based on how much mana they have. Not giving back based on how much mana percentage that I have. So if I get that plus 40% talent, and I use a snake against somebody, it's going to give me 60% of their mana pool back. Is it based on how much mana they have, though? That's another way to spend mana. I could just use like an item or something. Lotus Orb. That one's expensive now. So I only got 45 because that's about 11% of what he has. But what if he spends his mana as well? Can I not buy a fucking Dagon for this guy? That was weird. Okay, so it's based on his max mana. So, max mana, not current. I needed to lower his mana and then see how much mana I got. So, yeah. So if you're against some like int heroes on Medusa, using Snake on them is like bonkers good right now because you could use it to keep your mana full potentially, and it's going to better make the snake talent feel better because basically before you kind of have to bounce it on like 2 heroes for it to feel good. That's not necessarily true, but more in the past it was more about draining people's mana, but now it's becoming more and more about gaining your own mana, because the other talents are still very good for DPS. Her DPSing is more viable because they buffed Stone Gaze enough times. So lowering snake cooldown and increasing the mana that you gain could be really valuable in the right circumstances if the players you're playing against have really high mana pools, because then you can abuse it to stay alive longer. Confirmed. Do I want to bother trying that on the pub? Don't give a shit. Rana base damage increased by 2, Sacred Rare Arrow damage increased by 20 early and 50 later. Her base damage is not great. 47, 48-ish. She could be a more viable mid hero this way, or like core hero, but yeah. Nature's Prophet attack backswing reduced in case that hero's model needed any help. Wrath of Nature cooldown increased by 25 seconds, and now gives you damage bonus if you kill units with it. Interesting. Very interesting. It's cool for ability draft. For 50 seconds this works. This is very cool. Buying Ags with it is better. You get bonus bounces, I believe. Just increases damage. Oh, it bounces at 18 at all targets. Okay. But if you get Ags, it starts at a higher damage number and has a better chance to kill creeps. So maximum damage you can get is 18 times 6, right? Which is 108 damage. But it's still about right-clicking. So, just a little bit of a tangent buff to the hero. I think this is fine. I don't play Prophet enough to know if like that cooldown duration is like a big deal, but using Wrath of Nature before you TP in a fight somebody is very common. And it giving you a damage increase is not bad, so... I feel like I never play with Prophets anymore. It used to be so common in early Dota 2 and Dota 1. You play with Prophets every single game. Nightstalker base int increased by 2. That is 24 more mana. Base health regen increased by half of 1. And a little bit of movement speed. So just a little bit of base advantages for the laning stage. Lifesteal talent is 25% of 15. That's pretty valuable now. It's a lot more reasonable. Like Vlad's is 25, you know. It's like why bother with 15? Most people go strength anyway, so that'll make him a little bit better to just right-click people to death. And more Dark Ascension cooldown. I think the cooldown is like 100 it's like 100 seconds, I think. 120? Okay. So I'd put it up to 60-second cooldown, 30-second uptime, 30-second downtime, which is really valuable, actually. That talent looks incredibly good now. The minus 60. Because people were getting it when it was 40 a little bit. But because that was like 30-second uptime, 80-second downtime. But now we're 30-30. Half of the time during daytime, you're going to be flying like that. And nighttime, you're basically like, that talent's just amazing now, I feel like. Where are we? Where is N? There we go. Ogre Magi, one more one less armor, sorry. Sorry, Ogre. Phoenix base health regen increases. Does anyone even pick Ogre? Base health regen increased by half for Phoenix, and base damage increased by 2. So even more regen on the hero. Still has pretty crappy armor, but you could buy Buckler now to start. It's not too bad. So Phoenix's base health is pretty solid. I think Buckler Phoenix is probably really decent right now. Or you could just lane him. Because damage is getting so good. Like 660 HP with no extra items. It's got no armor, but buy a Buckler, then you're okay. You hit for pretty good damage. Seems alright. I have a feeling they had to nerf Ursa's armor because in playtests, somebody probably, or not Ursa, Ogre, they probably like picked Ogre and they started with a Buckler. And it was like busted because he's got really high armor already. He's got really good regen, and if you have like 10 armor level 1 and like 5 HP per second, it probably felt too abusive. So there's probably a couple laning heroes who are going to start Buckler that are going to feel. I mean, Buckler's not that much better than Ring of Protection though. It's only 2.5 armor instead of 2, so I guess it's not that big of a difference. Perhaps, I don't know. Base damage reduced by 2 for Puck. Base health regen increased by 1 for Pudge. Oh, and they went back to magic resistance for Pudge. Okay. I think this made more sense, the magic resistance and the health regen. It's going to mean that core Pudge is more viable again. Core Pudge kind of got nerfed because of the health regen. Because you can buy the health regen, but you can't get the free magic resistance. So I'm actually happy they're changing this back, personally. It's going to mean... So let's think about this. You can't go Pudge into lane with Flesh Heap anymore and just have buttloads of regen. But if you're playing him as a core, like in a normal lane and not like a off lane or something, I mean, I guess it's worse, but you can buy regen. It's harder to buy. It's just a lot more expensive to buy magic resistance, and you still get 1 HP regen now. Mid Pudge is back. Yeah, just like snowballing him is just going to feel a lot better now with the magic resistance. Rot trading people is not going to feel garbage anymore is another thing, because you're going to have a little bit of magic resistance. Bracers did get nerfed, keep in mind, so you can't just like triple bracer stack and feel as happy in Pudge as you could before. So that part is not as good. Like, imagine if he had magic resistance from his passive and bracer still gave like 5 or 6% magic resistance. It would be kind of insane. But you can buy Vanguard easier too. Like, hypothetically, Pudge could be okay, but he's probably still bad as like an off lane. I think 1 Pudge could be good, though. Maybe like the 1 Pudge build with resistance items, get like Vanguard, Pipe, and then Phase Boots. Just fight people and go Radiance if you're having a really good game. Maybe that's on the menu again. Alright. Pudge carry. Oops. Something Black told me about at TI at one point. I think 2 TIs ago. Pug in a Nether Ward, Mana Drain rescaled. It's better at level 1 basically. If you want to just get a skill point and slap it down. It's pretty good. This could be a lot of mana. It's basically 6 mana per 100 that you have, that you're losing per second. No, 6 mana per 1,000. Yeah, 6 mana per 1,000. So if you have 500 mana, and most people don't, it's probably not terrible though. It could work. Could be annoying in lane potentially. Like, the range is 1,600. That's huge. You could like pretty reliably just skill this and put it down in lane just to drain their mana slowly. I don't think that's unreasonable. Let's check.
I'll take a crack at it.
Very low mana.
Prepare for battle.
So he's losing 0.8 per second. I mean, this is kind of a lot. It's basically like 1.7 mana per second loss. Look at the range on this. Is this just because I'm losing vision? Oh shit, it died. I was like, where's the barrier? I thought I would have hit it by now. It's 1.7 mana per second. For 30 seconds. Which is kind of weak, but I'm basically spending 80 mana to drain like some. If his mana increases a lot, it's a lot of mana drain. So against like some interiors is really fantastic. It's 4.8 mana per second for 30 seconds. Alright, we gotta spreadsheet this, I think. I don't exactly know how the math works though. So if he has 327, let's see if we can reproduce it. Times 0. This would be 1% decimal, but it's less than that, 6. Okay, that's about what we would have expected. That's how much mana he's losing per second. But I thought the number was like 1.7 or something. Does this look about right? It kind of does, right? 827. Negative 3.9. It's about right. So if somebody has, I don't know, 700 mana or something, they're losing 4 per second. It's kind of a lot. And then we can times 30. A break-even point would be 80. So here's your trade-off. If they have a little bit over, if they have like 450 mana basically, then you will drain as much mana from them as you spent casting the spell, is the trade-off. Keep in mind that Pugna, also has really, really high int gain, 5.2 per level. So you should generally have more mana on Pugna than your opponents do. But, I mean, the range is so big on this. 1600 range is huge. Like, I could definitely see it become viable to just, like, put a Plague Ward, put, like, one of these down like this or something, and then they just lose mana slowly. And they also can't cast spells. This is actually another really... This feels busted. I actually think this is broken. This is like straight up broken against Intiros. Because their mana pools are going to be really high really fast. Like, I'm a level 4 hero and I have 500 mana. Imagine if I have like 2 Null Talismans at this point. 687 mana. So I'm going to be losing like 4 mana per second. That's 120 mana lost. Like, it's actually busted, dude. And the funny part is this is probably busted before. It was literally broken before, but nobody did it. They just think they were like, eh. It's 1 damage per mana. If they do a 100 damage nuke, they take a 100 damage nuke as well. So if I just if I literally just put the Nether Ward down, I win the lane. Or at least like break even. I break even. They lose as much mana as I lose. Like, people are just gonna have to go jungle. I don't know. I don't think this is a position 4 thing. Because, like, in side lanes, there's so much more space to run. But in mid, it's like the creeps are in one place. They're right there in the middle. So if I lane this against like a Lina or something, and I take away her ability to nuke for last hits, or at least if she does want to nuke for last hits, I'm going to do 1 damage equal to what mana she spends. And she's also going to lose as much mana as I spend. Like, it just wins me the lane, I feel like. Lina's going to kill it. She can attack it, yes. But the range is 1600. It's so big. I can put it like on top of my hill or something where she can't hit it, you know? Like, or at least it's going to be a pain in the butt. If she comes to hit it, I'm going to fucking attack her. It's not going to work that easy, guys. It's actually busted. I think Nether Ward is busted. And they just doubled the chart. So to consult this quick, if this was less... Let's see what the numbers are if I change it to 3 instead. See how the numbers change? Somebody would have to have like almost 900 mana for the mana to break even. But because they changed the numbers here to a 6, it's like it literally just already works against Intiros. It's not going to be incredible. It beats them here. Like, they only need 400 mana for this to be like valuable in terms of a lane trade. So that's assuming they're in the duration the whole time. Of course, they're going to maybe walk out of it sometimes, but like, yeah, I guess Pugna versus Int Heroes. I don't necessarily want more than 1 point in it because I It doesn't scale that differently. I mean, 25% more damage per mana. The max mana loss goes up by point. It increases by 33%, but that's like pretty mediocre. The damage increases by 25%. The max mana loss increases by 33%. That's kind of mediocre for a skill point. I'd feel pretty comfortable leaving Netherward at just like 1 probably. But the passive mana drain is pretty fantastic. Think about this against like an OD as well. I just put the Netherward down on my hill. It's like, banish me, dude. You'll take 100 damage, you know? This is going to be really obnoxious to play against. 140 mana. He's going to take 140 damage if he uses Astral. Not to mention that he's just going to be drained mana constantly. Look, he's already at the ratio. He's at 435 mana at level 1. We only need him at... Yeah, that's basically it. We break even. That shit's going to be busted. Alright, Queen of Pain. Shadow Strike slow increased. Late game up to 65%. 65 is pretty darn good. And Sonic Wave cooldown reduce. It's been 135 for so long. 125 seconds, so you can use it a little bit more often. So basically like mid and late game co-op buffs. Pretty small, but could matter. A little bit more disable is nice. 15% slow is nice. It does peter off obviously, but it'll make it a little bit easier to get kills without having to blink multiple times. Small nerf to Ricky, less damage at the 15 talent for the damage one. It's fine. Rubick Fade Bolt mana cost increase because Rubick is still very good right now. 135 mana is crazy for a level 1 ability, I must say. It's like actually insane. Not going to be able to Fade Bolt as often. Sand King buffed, I assume. Caustic Finale slow duration increase from 3 to 4.5 scaling. Now reduces attack speed as well. That's pretty huge. Used to just do movement speed. 15% up to 30. Means if you get a Caustic Blast on somebody and trade hits with them, it's going to feel way better. And epicenter damage per pulse increase as well. Up to 130 at late game. So basically like Caustic trading on Sand King is going to feel better. The duration is what, 3 seconds? Life drain shot. Did I miss life drain? I'm sorry. You're right, I did. Life drain damage reduced by a lot. Cooldown reduced. Man, this is a huge change. Sorry, I missed this one. Life drain damage reduce. So just less damage. 75, basically 25 per level. The cooldown is down to 7, so you don't necessarily have to buy Ags. And the Scepter now increases damage. So basically the Scepter will be 0 seconds, but it also does damage. It used to do a damage increase, a little baby damage increase. Now it does. It's actually a huge damage increase now. And the break distance reduced. So basically you can life drain more often. I actually like this change. That you're not going to be able to like chase people as far. I love this icon so much. This is so well drawn. It's beautiful. Anyways, you're not going to be able to like get solo kills with life drain as often, but you're going to be able to use it way more often in fights and not have to be like, well, I can only use it when I decrep blast a guy. You can just like life drain multiple times a fight now, which is going to make it a lot easier to just get mana back on Pugna. I mean, this is like a lot of buffs to Pugna, in my opinion. Laning is going to go better. You can life drain just to steal like some mana. Literally just life drain people. I don't know how many seconds you have to drain them to get the mana back, but it's not expensive. 125 on a 7-second cooldown. I'm not necessarily saying you should buy Ags. I think Aether Lens is still going to be the value pickup to increase your life drain range and stuff, but it's going to be a lot easier for Pugna to like fight constantly for long fights, which is very good for the hero. That's usually where he shines, so I think this is very cool. Could see resistance builds maybe. Could potentially like buy tanky items on him maybe and make that work to keep life draining in fights. Stun still beat him obviously, but it's not going to be so catastrophic when life drain gets interrupted now because you just have to wait 7 seconds. So this could be really cool. Excited for my green boy. Okay, sorry about that. Caustic Finale. The fact that it slows for longer is cool. Could make Ags a lot more effective on the hero because Ags would apply... It does apply Caustic Finale, right? Is that still what it does? No, it's Burrow... Oh, it does, yeah. Burrow range and applies Caustic Finale to heroes. So even if they don't die, they'll blow up 6 seconds later, which is going to mean that for 4.5 seconds after that 6 seconds, they're getting a 30% attack and movement speed slow. The movement speed slow is already pretty decent, but attack slow against like some cores is pretty effective, I think. So I could see Ags be a little bit better on Sanking. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a new build. I don't really see this as like changing the hero that much because people usually don't get Caustic Felling, but maybe they should. Like, people pretty much just abuse Sandstorm right now, and Sandstorm's still probably the better way to go, but what if you could get away with doing Sanking with like Burrow Caustic instead? Go like fast Vanguard or something like that, or get a fast like Helm of Iron Will for 5 armor, 5 regen. I could see that be potentially good. It's just that the hero has like kind of weak base stats and kind of weak base damage, so usually the Sandstorm abuse just feels way better, but maybe like fighting Sandkings could work well. Orb of Venom or something. Maybe a 4 Sand King could be better also, potentially. I could maybe see that. Might be worth trying. Sand King, Caustic, Burrow. The major issue though is that if you don't max out Sandstorm relatively fast, your damage when you do Burrow combos is just like stupidly less. Because you just Burrow Strike and Sandstorm and you do like an extra 400 damage to a guy, and Caustic is not going to be the same. That's what feels the worst about this, I think, by far. So maybe I'm probably misguided thinking like, oh, we'll get Caustic Finale leveled up more early. Like, you'll push waves fast, I guess, but like, and you won't need to do Sandstorm to do it. That part is good, I guess, that you can kill waves more rapidly and farm faster once you're winning your lane. But and maybe it'll help you win your lane a little bit better because of the attack speed reduction. That part is good. That like, if they fight you and you kill a creep, they're attacking slower now, you can probably outtrade them. That part's good, I think. But the point after that in the laning stage, when you start doing like trying to kill people from like high HP totals, you're going to deal way less damage if you get a couple caustic points. But, you know, I could leave it at just like 2 or something, maybe. 20% attack slow is pretty solid. Explode timer damage is 50. Yeah, I think something like that. I think like double cost, 2 caustic, 2 burrow sounds okay. I don't think I would get Caustic level 1. Maybe you can. If you know the hero matchup, I think Sand King could potentially work here. But I would probably give it up after that. Like, leave it at Caustic at 2. Maybe Burrow at 2. Max out Sandstorm after or something. Something like that sounds alright. Alright, Shadow Demon Demonic Purge damage increase. It is a shittier version of Nullifier now. It lasts for 7 seconds, I guess, but increasing the damage a little bit is fine, but it's only 50. It's like the tiniest little baby buff. Shadow Demon. Silencer Insteel is now part of Glaives of Wisdom instead of being innate. So, as somebody pointed out in chat earlier, Silencer dead for ability draft because you have to get Glaives of Wisdom now. It also means that Silencer, if you don't get Glaives of Wisdom at level 1 and you start getting kills, you're not going to get the bonus int. I would like to maybe see it so that it stores the int, kind of like Flesh Heap does. But you don't unlock it until you get 1 point in Glaives of Wisdom. I would like to see that personally. I don't know if it works like that. Let's try it.
I bear the gift of silence.
Is it retroactive? I'm not sure. We'll test it right here.
I bear the gift of silence. I make my move. No more.
It's not retroactive. Not fun. Yes, everybody does get glaives right now, so this isn't that big of a deal because almost everybody gets Glaives of Wisdom level 1 to like help trade in zone. But and they probably still will, but there could be a time this could like restrict them. I mean, all right, so it's not a big deal right now because everybody gets Glaives level 1. But imagine if they want to buff Arcane Curse and Last Word to be more enticing for people to skill at level 1. Or what if the meta changes as such that getting Glaives is not as good as having an AoE skill? Like, let's say Tri-Lanes become really good. Then getting Glaives at level 1 is not going to be good anymore because you want an AoE skill to do more damage. In that moment, they will have to buff Silencer to retroactively gain Insteel potentially if the hero's still bad. Because otherwise, you're feeling forced to get Glaives of Wisdom. Does that make sense? So it doesn't necessarily matter right now, but if the game changes a little bit, they could be caught in a position where like Silencer feels bad for a long time until they buff it. So I would have liked to see them do retroactive Insteel personally, but it it probably doesn't matter that much. Level 15 talent buffed, Arcane Curse slow. Arcane Curse does like around this as well. It's pretty weak slow, but it can be annoying. Slark pounce scepter distance reduced again. Second time. Yeah, it used to be 1400. It was so far. 1100 is still really good, but Slark is still picked a decent amount. Snapfire added scepter ability Gobble Up allows you to swallow an allied creep or hero and spit it towards enemies, stunning enemies in the air for 1.5 seconds and leaving a glob on the floor, dealing 100 DPS for 3 seconds. Units can stay in his belly for up to 3 seconds. I thought the granny was eating it. Okay. Units can stay in his belly for up to 3 seconds. Impact radius 400, cooldown 40 seconds, cast range 150. So basically, in another AoE stun, you could do Gobble Up followed by Cookie to do a big stun. You can save allies with it, carries anybody that's stunned. It's kind of like Snowball meets Cookie, basically. It's like Snowball meets Cookie. Let's try it out. And Scatterblast cooldown increased at low levels to higher levels, which is not going to affect the hero. It's going to make her weaker at like the first couple levels, like levels 1 to 3. She's getting pretty nerfed. She's still pretty effective, but... So this is like your normal level 6 skill build right now. Then naturally you rush Ags. Gobble Up. You'd have to be pretty close. This is one negative to it. Create hero X. Should be an ally automatically. And then so potentially very good.
Justice for the dead.
How far? Oh, I was like, it does Snap ulti? So it does 300 damage, obviously. This is pretty good though. I mean, let's see what the actual range is. Wait.
Sometimes he goes where he wanna.
Wait.
Will there be axes?
No fucking way. No fucking way. No. What? What?
In the powder game.
Step first. Punch
Run and
second.
gun.
Does that have a fucking limit, dude?
Not make me climb down from here.
Okay, it has a range, guys. It's only 3,000 units.
Certainly one way.
It's basically the range of your ulti. God.
Sure
That was insane. I didn't mean to like pick up the perfect hero for this, but if you can land the axe call with that shit, holy crap. You basically just launch him like a missile and then use your ulti afterwards after he calls them. Man. It's still 4,000 gold. It could make Snapfire as like an offlaner finally viable. Because part of the problem with Snapfire before is that like it didn't make sense to get farm on her because it's like, what are you going to do with it? Some people are like, oh, I'm going to play for the level 20 talent when Little Shredder does my attack damage. It's like, but until you hit 20, what the hell is the point? Like, you can still get mech at a decent timing playing Snapfire 3 normally. But now, hypothetically, you could get Ags and then use that to shoot somebody into melee range of the fight that's actually relevant. Whether it's a core or like a Earthshaker or something like that. That could actually make some sense. It probably still wouldn't be rushed, though, but like... as an item, I think it has some huge potential, especially if you have mobility on your hero. If you have like Blink and Ags or something and somebody gets initiated on, just gobble them up, save them for 3 seconds. It gives you a save option. It's kind of like buying Ags on Earth Spirit, for example. So a welcome addition. I think it's cool. The cast range, the range is freaking insane. Definitely insane. 1.5 second stun. Yeah, that's pretty good. And you can even do a creep. Another stun. Yeah, very good. Alright, Sniper, base damage increased by 4. That's huge. His base damage is garbage. Headshot damage is reduced to compensate, which I think is fine. And Assassinate, Scepter cast time reduced to 0.5 seconds, which is probably around where it used to be. I don't even know what this does. Let's find out. The Ags. I can't remember. Is it basically like the old talent. I think it like stuns people too. Here's our base damage, by the way, 42. He just got a damage buff? Are you sure? Ice Frog, did you remember to put that one in? Is this real? It was 38? Jesus. Well, this is better. 50 is a lot more reasonable. So the way the headshot damage is 40% of it. That's right, guys. It's spreadsheet time. Uh, 20, 50, 80, 110. Oh shit. I'm pressing hotkeys that record this locally and I don't want to do that. Stop local recording. Okay. The numpad problems. I gotta use the other buttons. 60, 90, 120. I'm doing this wrong. Let's put those here and then okay, so he's basically still does the same damage pretty much. They took 4 damage away from headshot on average and they put it into his base damage, which is obviously very helpful because it's going to make him more consistent. He will still have the same damage by the time headshots. Once you skill headshot once, he effectively does the same damage, but it's just going to make last hitting a little bit easier and less reliant on getting a headshot proc. So I encourage it. Wonderful addition to the game. Oh yeah, what does his Axe do? Who fucking knows, man? So here's his normal ulti. Here is his Axe ulti. So it does the same damage, I believe, right? Nope, wrong ultimate. Fire quicker and disable. So it's basically, it shoots faster and it is a 1.8 second stun. That's it. From what it looks like. Which is not terrible. I think one thing about this actually is it makes... I haven't done Veil Sniper in a while, but... Veil Sniper, Magic Sniper with Ags transition. So the problem before was that buying Ags on Sniper when you went magic damage didn't make sense because Assassinate would with Ags would give you physical damage. But now that it lowers the cooldown and it does stun, it's actually probably pretty decent. So I definitely want to try it. Cooldown reduction, max shrapnel, obviously. I don't know, you do some shit like this. And then now I would have like... Hypothetically, you could get phase boots because the cooldown's going to be lower, but... Phase is pretty mediocre on this hero. I mean, you're getting 2 seconds off the total, which is fine, but... anyways, and then of course you would buy Veil. You know how I feel about this item. You do some shit like this. And then you're like, oh shit, he's gonna kill me. So you buy Rod of Atos, and you're like... Give him the old Atos, and... He's like, oh shit, I'm taking so much damage, and you keep getting Shrapnel talents, and... In the late game you always lose, but it's really fun. So whether you go Atos or Veil is kind of preferential. I believe Merlini would go Atos, but I liked Veil typically. And Veil's probably a little better now because it gives all stats instead of mostly int. So I don't know. I think with Ags it could be better because once you hit like level 18, it's a 7.5 second cooldown on your Assassinate. It does 650 magic damage, so it's pretty good. You go E-Blade as well, potentially. E-Blade can work quite well. And yeah, then you have a 7.5 second Assassinate. Stuns for 1.8 seconds. It's pretty cool. Alright, Spectre base health regen increased by 1, and Shadow Step, which is the Ags buff. Scepter ability cooldown reduced to 35 seconds, which makes more sense. The 70 seconds is pretty long. You could argue this is a big buff to Spectre. The Spectre is just straight up better in this patch because of BOTs being nerfed. It's easier for Spectre to go back and still take fights, which is something that Spectre used to have as a big advantage over almost all heroes. outside of like, you know, Spirit Breaker and Ember Spirit and stuff like that. So having an Ags would give you another way to be able to split push or defend split push. Spirit Breaker reworked. Scepter, I think this needed to happen. I almost never bought the item on him because I just assumed it was garbage. I don't know if I ever bought it and actually got to play with it, but it would lower your ulti cooldown to 20 seconds instead of being like 80 or something. It would make it AoE, but like the AoE was so like, I was like, lower cooldown sounded okay, but the AoE was just like, I don't care. I just really don't care. So now it does increase charge movement speed by 100 and reduce the cooldown by 5, which is actually really valuable. Literally any Spirit Breaker would buy this item now. Support no matter what. Playing Spirit Breaker and rushing Ags just straight up sounds like the thing to do now. Buy Urn, buy Treads, buy Ags. Every game. I don't see why you wouldn't do this. It's raw HP. It's a little bit of, like, raw HP is good on him. Like, it feels like there's a lot of Spirit Breaker items that are decent. Like, Shadow Blade's great. Spirit Vessel is really good. All those items are pretty valuable, but, like, lowering the charge cooldown by 5 seconds is just straight up going to be valuable. And increasing the speed by 100, that's 100 more for this. That's 32 more magic damage as you bash in. Most importantly, though, it's way more. If this increases your movement speed by 100, and then you bulldoze afterwards, that's another 32 movement speed. So you get 32 movement speed from Ags. Well, you get 100 from this, then you get an extra 32 from bulldoze. So that's 132 times 32%. That's basically like another 40, 50 damage. So if you buy Ags, basically, and use bulldoze, you're going to do an extra like 40 damage when you charge through people. So 40 more damage, lower cooldowns of 6 seconds instead of 5, or instead of 11, and you hit your target much faster. Like, how is that not good? I just feel like that's so valuable. Armor talent becomes infinitely better now because you're having a lot more raw HP by having Ags. Like, there's just no way that Ags isn't the item to go on Spirit Breaker now. I feel like. As like at least a second item. Urn first, maybe Spirit Vessel first, but then Ags afterwards. It just feels like too good to pass up. It's not necessarily about the damage. It's like the extra movement speed is helpful because it's going to make it harder for people to stun you before or interrupt you before you hit them. And number two, most important, is just that your charge is going to come off cooldown so much faster. So you're just going to like charge through the entire team. You're going to fight a little bit. You're going to charge through the entire team again. And once you do that like 3 times and AoE stun everybody for 1.8 seconds, you're gonna really feel it in the team fights. You're gonna be like, oh shit, this guy has a lot of HP. He keeps AoE stunning us. Like, it's a 1.8 second stun and an AoE every 6 seconds. It's fucking crazy good. That is like so good. 1.8 out of 6 seconds. And to the guy you're stunning, it's 2.4. The guy you're charging to. 2.4 out of 6 seconds, basically. Minus travel time and animations. That's a huge uptime and stun. This is like Jakiro Ice Path levels, guys. This is really good. This is like a huge buff to Spirit Breaker, in my opinion. Spirit Breaker, you will see him in your pubs. Assuming that he lanes okay, you will definitely see this. He's still going to be iffy until the Ags point, and it's not like you farm super fast on Spirit Breaker, but with the gold changes for team fights, like, I can't imagine that Spirit Breaker is not going to be good. I think that's my initial impression is this is the biggest buff of the patch so far. But I could be way off. You will definitely see Spirit Breaker in your pubs, that's for sure. This just seems really, really good. You're right about the cooldown when charged. The cooldown starts once you connect, right? So it's not 1.8 out of 6. It's 1.8 out of 7.8, something like that, I guess, or 2.4 out of 8.4. So you're right. The numbers are not as busted as I just said they were. Thanks for the correction, but still very good, I imagine. Maybe not busted, but sounds very good. Storm base attack speed increased by 10. Sven base movement speed increased by 5. I was wondering when they buffed this. The mine movement speed was 25 was so slow. Just felt like not viable. Let's see how fast it is now. Offlane SB, not really. He doesn't farm super well. Like, if you like literally recorded this, went back in time and showed me this yesterday, I would be like, yeah, that's 25 movement speed. Like that's definitely how fast the mines are.
We go.
Good little mine. Yes, you are. Off we go.
I'm sure it's a lot faster, but I never tried it. It definitely looks a lot more obnoxious.
Huh?
What?
Anyways.
Planted. We're going. We're set.
And now this is your trap, basically. This is actually kind of busted. The fact that you can do all the charges at the same time, this actually makes this talent so much better. You can basically do this. And then you just need this guy here. Because before, if you place the mines correctly, you can basically do... This is basically what you do normally. You say like, okay, here's a ramp. I want to put this stasis trap right here. That way when somebody gets within range of this, they'll get to this point here when they're running up the hill, and the stasis trap will go off. And then because it's uphill, they can't see. And then what you do is this. You put like a mine here. Put a mine here. And you put a mine like right here. And what will happen is if somebody comes, they'll run up the hill. Oops. That's not where you're supposed to be. It's supposed to be like right here. So what will happen is they will be like, oh, I'm just going to go farm these neutral camps. This will proc boom. And then all of a sudden it'll be like boom, boom, boom. All three of these will blow up at the same time. And they're going to take literally 2,400 magic damage, which is fucking insane. Now, when you get the movement speed, you're just like, oh, just stack them up. Now it's like anywhere. Now the AoE is this. Anywhere in this AoE, people will get triggered on this. And they will all blow up. And at most, they're going to kill one, maybe two of these mines. So the mine movement speed is potentially really busted now. Because then it'll actually make red mine traps a lot easier. It's going to take a lot of charges. Because that's like 3 charges, 23 seconds. You can't do it often. But setting the traps is going to be easier to do in short periods of time with this movement speed. So I'd maybe assume that the movement speed change is going to be really big. But anyways, you insurge them. That sounds fun.
Didn't see me coming, did you? Gonna be fun.
Alright, where are we at, techies? Sonic projection, scepter ability, cast time reduced from 2 to 1 second. Ooh, that's pretty good. That's when you buy Ags, you can put a trap down, you can teleport to it. Now it's only going to take 1 second. That sounds more viable now. Like, you could actually... I don't know if anybody ever buys it. I mean, maybe they do now because Boots of Travel change. Now that that ability to move around the map rapidly is gone, this becomes more valuable again. With that said, though, do people still... I mean, you could use it in combat. 1 second is not bad. Let's test it out. So we can see what it feels like. Like, TA is another hero kind of like Juggernaut, where, like, generally you'd rather just keep getting damage items, but...
Prepare for battle.
Not saying that you wouldn't have a blink or something, but...
Blink down.
And the trap blows up, okay. That's not bad. I mean, that seems really good. 1 second is not a lot. Does it still do damage, though? What if it's fresh? Okay, so it still only does damage based on the normal speed stuff. If it's not up for 4 seconds, then it won't deal damage, but... I mean, if this gets planted down and is sitting there earlier, and then I'm like, oh shit, some dumbass is about to die, and I pop out, it does a bunch of damage, you know? Seems more valuable.
That is clear.
It's like some straight up ninja shit. I think this is
Templar assassin.
going to be more of an option later in the game now. It's not bad mid-game either, because you could also do some like ganking shit, right? You could blink forward, combo a guy, and then teleport back after melding. Can you do that? I should have checked. Can you do this while melding? Is the question. Probably not.
Templar assassin. Prepare for battle.
Oh, you can. Oh, and you're still melded. Ooh. That's pretty good. That's like the only spell you can cast while melded. So if you do refraction, it gets broken. See. That's pretty good, I must say. Do some shit like this. And now people are just gonna be scared, dude. It's like, if the trap pops, like imagine you're just like running around and then it's like, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go farm this camp.
As the temple requires.
It pops and you're like, am I gonna be okay? And then they're like, boom, boom. You know, like that shit's crazy. You could much better do like a double. It'd be like really easy to get double hits actually now. I just feel like there's no way that people don't buy this sometimes now, at least. Because the fact that you can hold meld first is crazy. Because then you can double meld strike. That's minus 24 armor. And it's going to be a lot easier to hit because of the fact that it only takes 1 second now. So all I need to do, like hypothetically, if I see them coming a long ways, you can't always double meld hit easy. Because to do that, you'd have to see them 8 seconds ahead of time. Like waiting. Okay, now I go. And then attack twice. But if it's it's 6 seconds, sorry. But depending on how locked down they are, or if you see them coming, you could definitely prep this and wait 5 seconds. But either way, the mobility that this gives you is pretty huge. And the fact that it only takes a second to anticipate it is definitely a big advantage. Can you get out while taking damage? It looks like it's channeling. So yes, if you're being attacked, then you can still channel it out. If you're rooted or stunned or silenced, probably not, I would guess. That's my assumption on how it works. But it's getting closer to viable for sure. The 1 second is a big deal. It's going to be a lot easier. Because like 2 seconds is like a TP almost. TPs are like 3.25 seconds, I think, something like that. 3 seconds. 2 seconds is like a lot. It's like they're going to interrupt you. But 1 second, you could easily get away. Like you could juke into trees, meld, and then start the teleport. You can get away so often, actually. It's going to be a big pain in the ass to kill TAs that have this, actually. Now that I think about it. Because literally, they just have to not be stunned for 1 second. Like, they're going to meld, you're going to be like, dust! And then they dust, and they're just gone. That's going to happen. It works well rooted. They'll fix that, I'm sure. I'm sure they'll get changed if TA becomes too strong. Alright, let us move on. Metamorphosis Scepter is now a standalone ability you get while in Metamorphosis. Okay, that'll buff it a lot, actually. Level 10 talent change to 25 movement speed. Basically just buffs the TB in all places. Reflection down to 10 seconds. I don't remember what the uptime is, but we remember what this ability feels like, I think.
My blades and my mind
So
are
6
as
seconds cooldown total after you use it. 5.5 uptime. So it's basically permanently up. I like these weapons. They are very cool. 3.75 of fear duration. It could be more valuable to get it, basically. Because before it would happen when you transformed to Metamorphosis, and the timing was not always very relevant. So nobody ever bought it. But now, you could be fighting, shit's getting a little hairy, and you're like, time to turn things. You sunder a guy and then do this. Is that even an animation? It just like goes. It's kind of, I think I don't know if they were ready to put this in. Maybe there's an animation, but it doesn't even stop. It's a little bit delayed. It's basically like Shadow Fiend ulti, you know? And then if there's enemy heroes, all you gotta do is some shit like this. They're coming to kill you, you do this. I'm not transformed anymore. Come fight me, friends. It's really valuable. I think that could be super viable as a skill. It's very similar to what it's very similar to like Huskar's first skill, Inner Fire. Pushes them away and disarms, but very similar. It's like when shit's getting a little bit scary. I could definitely see that this be viable now. Oh, what was the cooldown? Was that like 80 seconds or something? Yeah, not it was centered based on where you cast it, but normally when you transform, it takes time to do it. So it's like 0.35 seconds delayed. That's why it's not centered. Because the explosion, at least how it's coded, I don't know if they patched it since I started this, but it would come out basically where I was 0.35 seconds ago. Because normally I'm standing still transforming, and then it would come out at the same time. They timed it to set on that, so I would guess it changes. With Mars ult, could be good, yes, but it's not like it'd be better to use it in crucial moments where you're trying to get kills or prevent somebody from using a BKB or that kind of a thing. That's going to be more valuable for it, for sure. Tied under base strength increased by 3. Not bad. That's a lot. 60 health, 3 damage. Pretty big buff to Tide laning. Tinker. I wonder if you could like lane support. It's probably not. It's probably not there yet, but it's a little better. Tinker, level 10 talent changed. More cast range. Everybody gets spell amp. 10% is crazy for a level 10, but that's a lot of cast range. Level 15 talent changed. 3 seconds march in the machines. Everybody gets mana cost, mana loss. Puts March at like, I think 9 seconds now. 9 seconds of machines could be really good. Tiny backswing reduce, so bad players once again buff to them. Nature's Guys regen amplification up to 40. Ooh. It's been a while since we saw tree buffed, I guess, but it's crazy, 40%. Rami gifting 11 subs. Thank you, Rami. Appreciate it. Tusk. Base movement speed increased by 5. And he's going to be even better with the Orb of Venom. He's like a really big Orb of Venom hero. Ice Shard's damage increased by 10 per level. So pretty big buff, 40 at the end of it. So more in line with the regular nuke. Okay, Tombstone Zombies damage increased a lot. That's pretty big. Especially because if you buy something like Helm of the Dominator on Undying, they're going to get a bigger percentage of HP now, or a bigger percentage of damage. It's like an extra, let's think of like 50 damage increase to creeps or something, 50%. 50% bigger effect on player units. Okay, so it's 30%. So the zombies, instead of doing 10 more damage, they're going to deal 13. Is that it? 13.6 more damage, I think. So if you buy something like Helm, I mean, it's just straight up a buff either way. It also combos well with your ulti, right? Because if you hit people with your ulti, the zombies do bonus damage too. Yeah. So buffing the zombie damage is like the most direct way to make Undying better right now, even without something like Helm. Zombies do more damage. Well, if you hit them with your ulti, they're going to double it. So they've now doubled. They have 20 more damage instead of 10 more damage. So instead of doing like 70 damage, they're going to do like 90 damage. Yeah, 20 more damage instead. So it's pretty good. Tombstone zombie damage talent looks worse now. It's only 30, but I don't know if this makes Undying necessarily. I mean, he's going to be better for sure. It's basically going to be a curve like in the, kind of like the coronavirus. He's going to be really good right off the bat, making people sick, disrupting businesses, but then once we all socially distance, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So his late game is still going to suck. But his early mid game is going to be a little bit stronger. All right, Ursa. Fury Swipes damage increased. Back into some round numbers, 10, 20, 30, 40. It looks beautiful. Overpower attack count reduced. Back to normal. They're basically like reverting him. Overpower cooldown reduced. Basically much better once you max it. 7-second cooldown is really low. And the mana cost as well. So these are just straight up huge buffs to Ursa. I wonder what justifies this. I'm not saying that I haven't seen Ursa in a while, but I do remember when he was busted last year or something like that for a while. What has changed that has made all of these buffs not be crazy I'm not sure. Oh, it's changes to Enrage, guys. I should have read more. Enrage no longer has a Fury Swipes multiplier. The duration increases, and Enrage cooldown reduced. So the cooldown has gone down. It lasts longer, and it no longer makes your Fury Swipes do more damage. But it gives you 50% status resistance. And they've changed the talents. So level 25 talent change from Enrage, plus 80% status resistance to plus 3 overpower attacks. So basically, the hero is actually, yeah, Enrage being viable in ability draft is actually really true. It's straight up better in ability draft. Because you literally don't need any other Ursa abilities for Enrage to be good now. It's kind of like a shitty Abaddon ulti, I would say. It's not terrible, though. 50% status resistance at the right time can be really good. But yeah, plus 3 overpower attacks is here, so that would make you attack up to 9 times. Which is pretty solid. I actually like that talent a lot now. AoE or Shot can be good, but I think this is definitely better. And now, what's kind of crazy though is like Ursa's going to be way better in lanes though. All of these buffs are like massive pre-6. He's like way better pre-6. I mean, he's got 1 less overpower attack, I guess, but sure, obviously, like 10 damage versus 7 is huge. 20 damage versus 14 is huge. They buffed Orb of Venom. Orb of Venom slows more now, too. I mean, Ursa doesn't function very well as a support, but, like, you could probably dumpster some lanes with Ursa with Orb of Venom as a support. He just won't transition great. But as a carry, he's definitely going to be back, I think. Although maybe we're really going to feel the difference. It's probably like a major feel thing. It's going to feel really different. Because he used to do like, what, 2 times more damage or something with Fury Swipes when he would Enrage. And that's just gone now. So the hero might feel very different. Might feel very, very different. Like, your lane is going to be way stronger, without a doubt. More mana, more Fury Swipes damage. But your ability to get quick hero bursts in the mid and late game is, it's not gone, but it's worse. It's definitely worse. However, the big abuse is basically like overpower. So it being a 7-second cooldown is huge. You're gonna be able to Roche faster. Well, probably faster. Because normally you're attacking for a very long time, right? You could genuinely also just skip your ulti at 6 anymore. I don't think it even matters that much anymore. I could definitely see Ursa skipping it. Oh, that's right. It still gives you damage reduction. The damage reduction stats, it's pretty clear what it does now, right? It's like, I'm about to die. Ah, as you get stunned. Is the whole purpose of it now. But the important thing is that this is what fights are supposed to look like, basically. You do this or something. Nah, you don't necessarily want this now because the cooldown's pretty low. You overpower. You get ready to fight people. And then you're like, alright, time to fight. This is what you're supposed to do. Just did 4,000 physical damage. You're just gonna overpower a lot, basically. Like, there's no way you don't buy Orb of Venom right now. More attack speed is helpful, of course. So I don't think it's necessarily terrible to buy something like a Wraith Band, but it's probably better, instead of Wraith Bands, to buy Drum instead. Oops. Oh god, no. I've made a bunch of extra work for myself. Maybe you get like 1 Wraith Band, then you buy like Gloves, Crown. Like, Drum is just probably better because it makes you so fast. And then when you're roaching, you're just using this every 7 seconds instead of 10. And that should mean that you still roach pretty quickly. You're gonna run out of mana a little bit faster, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what his win rate changes to, but it's definitely, I think, more exciting. It's gonna make the hero, the Fury Swipe's reset time is probably gonna feel a lot better now. Because if your burst has gone down, you're going to want the Fury Swipes to stand people. That way, when you keep weaving in and out of battles, that the stacks stay up and you're able to kill people. So maybe like Radiance Ursa is just better now. I could see Radiance Ursa being a lot better now. because it's more about staying alive and standing near your opponents than it is about bursting. So I think Rad Ursa could be back. Getting tanky and going Rad. Basher for sure? Not necessarily. I mean, Basher is still really good on the hero. And if you're trying to like burst people down rapidly with 7 hits into 7 hits, yeah, Basher is really good to disable, but Radiance and Battle Fury, definitely not. There's no way. I wouldn't buy Battle Fury because your raw damage that you're dealing outside of like this, like the damage you're dealing to one guy is really high, but I don't even know if your cleave increases based on the damage you do to one guy. I don't know if it works like that. Battle Fury, no way, it's garbage. Radiance could be good though. You think he's dumpstered? I don't know. You could buy Ags to lower the cooldown to 30 seconds and then buff that. So Ags is straight up garbage now. Well, you can activate it while you're disabled, I guess. But it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. Because if it gives status resistance and you remove a big stun, if there's not more stuns coming, it's like kind of mediocre. I could just see like Ursa with tanky Radiance build being more viable now, basically. Perhaps. Battle Fury Cleave does work. Alright, maybe it works, I don't know. But Battle Fury just sounds kind of expensive for how kited you could get, basically. I'd rather go Radiance over Battle Fury on Ursa without a doubt. Because then I just have to stand near people and I'm fast. And Battle Fury means I could still be disarmed, stunned, rooted, all that shit. Radiant's still doing damage. So that's why I'd rather do Rad. You have really high base HP, actually. Alright, well, who knows? Maybe it works. Definitely worth testing out, I think. Dumpster lanes, see if you can transition it, basically. Or maybe your damage will be too weak. Buying more attack speed items, something like a Bloodthorn could be really good on him. Just a lot of attack speed. Vengeful Spirit, magic missile cast range increased by 50, thank God. The damage is rescaled. A little bit less, but a little bit more. Completely reasonable. I'm very happy with that. 10 less damage at level 1. But more damage late game. I'm down. The cast range was too shitty. The projectile speed is low, which is fine. One of the most dodgeable abilities in the game right now, but yeah. It shouldn't have to feel like you need cast range on this hero to make her function. And the damage reduction I think is enough. It's reasonable. Viper Strike damage increased by 20 early, 15 late, and the spell lifesteal up to 10. The talent is not very good right now. The problem is that before you could put one Viper poison attack on somebody, and if they were low HP, it would deal a lot of damage. So you could basically like attack every hero once in a fight repeatedly. That way you just deal a shitload of damage. And between that and being able to throw Nether Toxin on the ground every 5 seconds, you're basically dealing damage fucking everywhere. But now Nether Toxin has like a pretty long cooldown. It's better for farming than it used to be because it does a lot more damage with one cast. But in terms of like dealing a lot of damage in team fights, it's hard. It is not easy on Viper. So the spell lifesteal talent, it's not as easy because you can't just be like poison attack, poison attack, poison attack, poison attack, throw 2 Nether Toxins. It's more like you have to kill one guy. He's like, Viper's a lot more about killing one guy now. So increasing his ulti damage to be more is good because it's going to be easier to kill that one guy. And increasing the spell lifesteal, if you want to take it, is going to be better because you just need more spell lifesteal to compensate for the fact that you just don't do as much total damage anymore as you used to. It's harder to stay alive, therefore, with the spell lifesteal. If you get the spell lifesteal talent and you pick up a Vampire Fangs and you're at 18% spell lifesteal, now we're talking. But most of the time at 10, I'm probably just taking attack speed anyways because it allows you to apply poison attack faster, get up to 5 stacks, lower their magic resistance, and therefore just kill them. So I don't know if this is going to make the talent equalize, but I assume it has a... Yeah, look at the win rate difference. See how little people picked it right now? It has a 15% win rate difference in Divine and above pubs, and his win rate's really garbage. Like, really garbage. Did they over-nerf him or something? I mean, they did increase the mana cost. There was a period of time where people were playing Viper 5, and it seemed a little bit good. But I feel like this win rate looks so bad. Maybe it's just that pros abuse him better or something, but it's crazy to think that his win rate was like 55 easy when Nether Toxin was broken, and now it's just in the dumpster. But I think they kind of ruined the hero a little bit with how they changed poison attack. Like, obviously he was too good, but I wrote a long message to somebody complaining about Viper when they changed him before to this, thinking that they like ruined the hero. And I was wrong because he was actually picked in the pro scene for a bit. But it seems like he's zoned out a little bit now. Maybe it's different now that you only get one neutral item instead of lots, because before you could maybe pick up a lot and be tanky. I don't know. I'm curious of what his win rate has been like over the last 5 months. You prefer this Viper? Like he's more interesting in some ways, but I think he's less dummy proof. Like the way I used to play Viper was I would get myself into dumb situations. I would buy tanky items and I would barely survive and do enough damage with my skills naturally that they die. Now it's more like I'm playing like a Drow Ranger kind of, and that doesn't fit my playstyle as well. So maybe I'm just like confused and upset, kind of a thing. But hard to say. Like all of my, obviously I'm biased to criticize and talk about heroes the way that I like playing them, what I think is most viable. Like I was really upset with the way Venge was changed as well with the passive because it removed the ability to go like Ags, and I thought the Ags build was really fun. But I understand that the aura eventually, after it got changed, that it made the hero's win rate jump up a lot because you just make your team stronger and you win games that way, you know? But anyways, Visage, base attack speed increased by 10, Soul Assumption collection radius increased, so you can get Soul Assumption easier, and the cast range increased by a little bit too. I haven't played Visage in forever. Man, my hero pool really has reduced a lot over the years. I feel bad, but maybe it's just kind of playing less games. I don't know, but game feels more restricted or something, or maybe I don't know. Not sure. Level 25 talent, +6 cloak stacks. I like that over the -2. The -2 feels like very like, I mean, nobody plays Visage for sure, but I used to play Visage once in a while as well. Maybe he's potentially viable as a support. If you like play defensive, get levels, and then transition, like he's fun to play. Just for a long time, it felt like the only way you could play him is a core. Is all. So lower cooldown on Gravekeeper's Cloak means that if you take damage from more sources, you'll get your shield back faster. But having more stacks is kind of cool as well, because this means that you're basically invulnerable if somebody walks up and Laguna Blades you. Like, I'll show you. Maybe the nerfs to old random. Yeah, that too. I don't random nearly as much as I used to. I used to random like every game. So I'd actually play, I would cycle through all heroes, but I don't random anymore because I don't like losing. It feels really bad to lose. Plus I play ranked. You don't random in ranked anymore, so it's a mix of things. But yeah, I definitely wish that randoming was, I don't like how, I wish I could turn off the option to not random all heroes. Or I wish I could change the scale. So I don't know what it's at, like 80% of all heroes that I play, it puts in the random pool. But now there's like new heroes that I don't spam that are just going to be dead there forever, that I won't random ever. You know what I mean? That kind of thing is obnoxious. Oh, I forgot about this. Armor Corruption. Excuse me? Is this going to go up now? Maybe this is one of the bugs that they patch. It says max layers, but it's not working, it doesn't seem. That's funny. Okay, I think I have it. Is it working? Did that work? Yeah, it seems like it's not working. It's bugged. I haven't updated my client since I started this hours ago, and usually there's like 3 patches. So it's probably just, they'll fix it, I'm sure. But basically you'll take like almost no damage for a lot of hits. If you don't have a damage over time skill, jumping on Visage is going to be really weak. Like really, really weak. Even if you're like a PA or something like that, it'll be really garbage. It'll buy you enough time to react almost always. It'll be really nice actually, defensively. Sounds quite good as a support, to be honest. Void Spirit added Scepter. Resonant Pulse is now a charge-based ability with 2 charges, and it now silences the enemies for 2 seconds. Fuck. Void Spirit with raw HP is good. Being able to nuke harder is good. So you basically silence enemies for 4 seconds now in an AoE. It's pretty solid, especially because you can jump in enemy teams. I don't play Void Spirit that much, so I don't know if it's viable to like give up on an item to buy this, but it sounds good because it is a 300 damage nuke. 220 here, and then you get bonus 100, so it's a 320 damage nuke. So it's basically an extra 320 damage if you want it. And you can silence for up to 4 seconds AoE. That seems valuable to me. Mana regen. Everybody goes damage. Remnant True Strike. Could be quite good as like a support for dewarding and stuff, but... Anyways. Ooh, Warlock buff. I think. Cast point on Shadow Word. I like that a lot, actually. It takes a long time to cast Shadow Word sometimes when you're getting gone on. And lowering the cast point is going to make it easier to cast it before you get killed. More cast range at 10. That's nice. And Shadow Word AoE increases as well. I actually like that talent sometimes. It can be very good. It's so hard to pass up the 10 armor, though. The Shadow Word cooldown, the Shadow Word AoE. Man, once you Shadow Word an entire creep wave, that shit feels so good. But probably not worth getting usually. Weaver base int increased by 3. A little bit of int gain, a little bit of mana regen, some base stats. Basically, you actually do have a lot of Sakuchi problems early. It used to be 60 back in the day, but Weaver got good, so they buffed it to 70, and they lowered his mana pool. This will be nice. This is 36 more mana, a little bit more mana over time. Getting mana drained will feel less bad. And the movement speed bonus scales now, so it's just even faster. You're going to be really fast when you max Sakuchi. Buying boots on him is probably actually so good. Let me check this out. So, 498. Pretty slow.
Prepare for battle.
572. So having boots is a big deal. It's about 80 movement speed. BOT is pretty quick. And this adds 20 movement speed per level. What if we also buy a Yasha? I mean, these actually aren't helping that much because they're passive. I'm only getting 20 movement speed faster. What really helps is the percentage based ones. Like this would do more than adding an extra wind lace, because this is giving me a raw number, not a percentage. So the percentage is all multiplied by BOTs. And then leveling up to like this and getting the extra movement speed. I'm so fast. This looks really funny. This is actually so fast. That's fun. Get Surge. I'm good. Surge boots, force boots. Oh, BOTs are actually better. But what I can buy is a Faded Brooch. Another 25. Cool.
The threads of fate are mine to weave.
Wind Ranger. Intelligence gain increased. Cool. More damage, more mana. Further making her mana regen talent not good. Cold Embrace is now considered a heal instead of regen. Okay. So they're trying really hard to get people to buy Holy Locket on fucking anybody. So they're like, what can we make function with Holy Locket? Cold Embrace? Sure. Anything. 38 per second plus 5%. And you can increase that by 35%. So it's spreadsheet time. Let's assume 38 and then oops, I gotta be careful, don't want to start a recording. And then 5%. Let's do this. 5%, and we'll assume, let's start with 500 HP. Let's do like a bigger number since we don't have that much spreadsheet room. Sure, that works. So equals 38 plus. So the purpose of the $sign is to pick a slot and never let it change. So we'll do this one first, and then we'll do $sign here because we never want it to pick a cell different, and I don't want it to change at all. So I'll $sign this so that both the row and the column don't change. And then I'll close this. It'll do 38 plus this cell, which will scale down because I didn't $sign it as I drag it down, and then $signs of both of these. That's some Excel tips. All right. So this is our numbers, assuming this is how much you're healing per second, basically, based on how much health they have. And then if we do the same thing, but we do equals this times 1.35 to represent Holy Locket. This is our heal. Well, I'll have to duplicate it another time. I mean, basically, I could just do this probably. This is probably the easier way to do this. There we are, guys. Holy Locket. Why heal 153 HP per second when you could heal 206 for 4 seconds? Think about it. That's an extra 50 health per second for only 2,600 gold. It's incredible. All right, Excel time is over. Witch Doctor paralyzing cask mana cost. Oh hell yes, I was hoping for this. Low cooldown, lower that cooldown. Level 1 cask is like pretty expensive for, like if it's just a solo guy in the jungle, cask sucks really bad. It's not just that it doesn't stun long, but it's really mana expensive. This is gonna make fighting a little bit easier. Deathward Scepter no longer has a bounce limit. Okay. Sure, let's do it. It's gonna make it a lot better against illusions. Actually, that's the big thing. Death Ward with Ags against PL, for example, will be valuable. It against like Naga, basically anybody that has illusions, Death Ward will be way better because it'll just keep on bouncing. We gotta see this. We gotta see this.
Someone called the doctor?
That's all I need.
Prepare for battle.
See if this works. Create hero. It's probably gonna make Phantom Assassin. Oh, there it is. Level bots 25. Sure.
With vim and vigor.
Oh no.
By my bones. Axe likes you. Axe will kill you
Let's give
live.
this guy some items so that, you know, he will continue to attack rapidly.
Very fine. Here I come.
Not bad. Not bad. It didn't do great against the main one because he's got 34 armor and it's a level 1 ulti, but that was nice. You don't buy Ags that often on Witch Doctor, but it's going to be more justified now. Like, this is a cool way that they've been buffing it, is that it gives True Strike now, so you don't have to worry about evasion heroes, and now it doesn't have a bounce limit, so against illusion heroes or annoying problems, then it's going to be less of a problem. So, nice change. Vampiric Aura, lifesteal reduced. They nerfed it. Ooh. Oh, I see. All right, they buffed it. The lifesteal on your hero is increased by, it's 50% higher. So it's 7.5 lifesteal at level 1. Eventually becomes 30. So still better. I think people have been picking Wraith King. They picked it at the summit a little bit Because I saw a Wraith King game where he had Headdress at level 1. Or had Headdress early, I believe, to help stabilize the lane. So Vampire Core is pretty garbage with just a single skill point, but it doesn't give you 6 damage, so I don't know. It's maybe playable. And Zeus, the biggest changes of all, 5 movement speed and attack point improvement to make bad players happy without them even knowing it. Their heroes are just going to feel better. This is basically for like League of Legends players or something that are trying to play Dota. They're like, let's make sure these guys don't get too turned off by like the backswings, you know, that kind of a thing. All right. Let's restart the game. Let's run some ads and then we'll play some pubs. Vampiric Aura first round material and ability draft? I don't know about that. Not at all. It's not that good. It is not first. There's no way it's first round. This ability sucks ass to scale. Well, does the lifesteal amplify your other versions of lifesteal too? Or is it just the one itself becomes better? Let's see.
Not Rage King.
If I get a dummy, does this show how much lifesteal I get?
Prepare for battle.
I think it does. I just have to like see. I feel like testing this is really difficult. I'd have to do like precise math and shit to check.
Vladimir's offering. By my crown.
It looks about the same.
Wise counsel.
Am I wrong?
Prince
Getting for almost 300.
who's in charge here? Wraith, your king is here.
Getting about 90 HP. I'm hitting for... So 90 divided by 271. This is 0 armor, right? Yeah, I'm not getting extra lifesteal. It's 33%. 25 here. About 7.5 here. So, yeah. I was wondering if it would increase... If you would get extra lifesteal. I wondered if it worked like Paladin Sword, basically. That it would increase... Because this amplifies your lifesteal by 17. While also giving you 17 lifesteal. So I wondered if this would increase all of your lifesteal by 50, but it doesn't. So it's not busted. Okay. I feel like that is pretty close to confirmed. Alright, cool. Let's run some ads and restart and play some games.